Well, to say the sun has come out and blessed Brands Hatch would be an understatement. As you can see, we are looking at a seriously hot race. I've been chatting to the drivers throughout the morning. All of them are tentatively saying it's going to be brutal for them in the car. We are looking forward to 2 hours of glorious British GT racing here at Brands Hatch, and my goodness, it is all set up. There are so many stories throughout the grid, so many rivalries, so many opportunities to take titles here this weekend. Will it happen? Well, the next 2 hours will unfold all that, won't they? And I'm thrilled to be able to tell you we have one heck of a commentary team that will be calling this race in the way that no others can. Lead commentator Martin Haven, he's here in the building. He refuses to go outside, of course, in the sunshine. He's not allowed. Andy McEwen ably sat in next to him, and they have a special guest driver joining them up there too. I will tell you who it is as well. It's David Pittard. Wonderful man, knows this series brilliantly. In fact, rather than me waffle about them, why don't we hear from them, and I'll grab some interviews as soon as I can.
So Andy's grid walk going as well as Martin Brundle's, but even fewer of Bernie Ecclestone's royal guests for him to gather himself around. Cars heading out to the pit lane, and actually, let's talk David Pittard immediately, introduce our guest. David, you are used to racing in this series. Even when it's cold, it's hot work inside the cars. What's it going to be like on a day like today when, frankly, only mad dogs and Englishmen will go out?
No, it's going to be a big test, not only for the drivers themselves, but the pit crews as well. The drivers, once their jobs are done, they can sort of unsuit and everything, and maybe jump in a pool. I've seen a couple of paddling pools in the paddock this morning. But for the mechanics, they're going to be suited and booted for the whole 2 hours. Yeah, they've got to be on stand all the time. So, yeah, big test for man, machine, and everyone involved.
Well, it is. Now, what about, again, you know, it's not just the air temperature. You get hot enough inside the car. These things are very physical to drive anyway, especially under a sun like this. But what about the track temperature? You know, no cloud cover at all day long. So track temperature, I mean, for Brands Hatch in the British summer, it's going to be close. It's going to be into the 50s and nudging up high 50s as well. That's an insanely high track temperature for the tyres to deal with. Is that then going to become a factor where maybe last year it wouldn't have been?
I think so. It's something you've got to certainly take into consideration. And maybe some of the slightly heavier cars out there, that's something that they've really got to watch.
Yeah.
The McLaren GT4s, for example, I know that they're probably one of the heavier GT4 cars out there. So yeah, their tyres may drop off more than maybe the lighter, more nimble Ginetta, for example. That's certainly what we had last year, and we played that to our advantage. We didn't quite have it in quali, but over the race distance, the Ginetta was the car to have.
Qualifying's nice. It's a kind of, you know, ego massaging deal, really, isn't it? But in the end, over 2 hours with a driver change, safety cars and all the other things that get thrown into the mixing pot, it can be a very different deal from the way qualifying was, particularly if the weather changes. Now, sitting alongside us, Andy McEwen. Andy, we've had a pretty exciting day of racing so far. The high temperatures didn't really stop anybody getting mixed into the action. Talking to some of the drivers this morning, actually I was having breakfast with the Dane train, so drivers, Nicky Team never raced here before, Marco Sorensen raced here once before in Formula Ford, Maxime Martin never even seen the place before, and they're all going, wow, it's a fantastic track to drive. That much we've sort of always understood. The reason it's one of the classic tracks is because it's always produced good racing, but it is really hard to overtake with these big cars, particularly the GT3s.
Yes, the key is traffic management, because when you're running around on your own, and particularly when you've got all the pro drivers in the car, they're all lapping within a tenth or so of each other. Finding that advantage and that gap to make a move stick is difficult, but give them 5 or 6 laps, they'll catch the tail end of the GT4 field, and if you catch a GT4 car at the apex of Hawthorne or Westfield or Sheen Curve, you'll be woefully slow through the corner, and the cars behind will leap onto your tail and try to take advantage. So it always creates drama with the traffic, and that's where most of the opportunity for overtaking is, that and pit strategy as well. Well, as we can see on the screen, I think we've got cars down on the grid, and in amongst the hive of activity with the number 43 car, the Century Motorsport BMW, is Andy J.
Yes, that's right. I'm here with the GT4 pole sitters, and my goodness, you're on a run of hot streak right now, aren't you, Jack?
Yeah, no, it's going really well for us. Yeah, me and the team have been working really hard with the car. And I've just got Dean for the last round, and he's been doing an amazing job as well. So to get pole for this one with the championship battle going quite down to the wire, it's really good for me. It gives me a bit more confidence. But as you know, with British GT, anything can happen. So got my fingers crossed and hoping for another good result today.
But in terms of the GT4 teams, you must be the most confident out of the whole pack. You won at Silverstone, you won at Spa. That's 2 consecutive wins, and now you're sitting in pole in GT4. You must be like massively confident, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely confidence is there. Yeah, we know our outright pace in qualifying was never usually that strong, but this weekend was a bit of a shock to us. So we know for the race, we know our race pace is strong. We're hoping for another good result with that, but no, we're really good on the tyres. So fingers crossed, everything goes our way after the 20-second penalty. But no, I'm sure Dean's going to do a good job as always. So.
Well, look, last one from me. Everybody's talking about the heat, and we're sort of speculating that as a driver, it's going to be savage in there. How are you feeling about it?
Not too bad. I might have to have the aircon on for a couple of laps maybe to cool it down, but no, just once you get into it, it's not too bad. You kind of forget about it and just get on with the job. So
good luck. Thank you. Back to you guys. I'm going to charge up to the front of the grid for GT3 now.
Jack Mitchell there, sharing with Dean McDonald, who's starting the GT4 pole sitter. You can see it there with the red board in front. Car number 43, they start 11th on the grid. And Century Motorsport locking out the front row in GT4. Ben Green starts the 42 car from alongside. Well, let's have a look at what it's like on this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit from on board. Johnny Cocker talks us round.
Starting the lap now. Straight into paddock. Such a cool little corner this. A little bit of traffic with the GT4. He's going to let us past. Probably worth mentioning that I've never really been very good at doing 2 things at once, so anything could happen in really. Down the hill into Graham Hill. Back down into second. Nibble a little bit of curb. Careful not to blow the track limits at the exit. 30s. A little bit deep, the rotation. Coming down now the main straight. GT3 cars now, since our last race when at Brands Hatch, almost about 10 seconds quicker now. So massive development in the cars. Huge difference in speed. Just nipping up the inside of the Jag there. Through Westfield. Now my favourite bit of the circuit. Sheen, load of curb, somebody's left a load of gravel there for us. Third gear, load of curb on the exit. To 4th, that's the final turn. Fairways, all about the exit here. Early on the power. There you go. Lap of Brands Hatch GP. Barwell 69 Hurricane.
Nice view of it from Johnny Cocker, and you can see how quickly everything goes by. It's a full-length Grand Prix circuit, so 2.5 miles, but it is very busy. One sort of half-decent straight, and you're looking at it, but that has got a dip in the middle, and it slopes downhill. From the outside the front row to where we find our man Andy J by pole position Optimum Motorsport.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the slope. I just want to say that Johnny is standing on the higher part. You know, usually I'd be up here. Yeah. I say coming on my feet. Johnny Adam, of course, pole sitter. Also the coolest man on the grid, both sort of mentally and physically. How are you looking so cool? Why are you so relaxed? Why aren't you sweating buckets like the rest of us?
I will be in about an hour. Yeah, it's going to be a hot race this afternoon. Obviously, track temperature's hot. And the ambient's hot as well, so it's going to be a tough stint, especially for the guys that are starting the first 60 minutes. You know, it's hot. Quick track, but obviously not a lot of room out the back with the GP circuit when you're passing the GT4 traffic. So it's a short lap, but quite intense. So again, cockpit temperature is going to be quite high out there.
I mean, this is obviously you and Flick have had the season together now. You get stronger and stronger, but it's also your 3rd time starting from pole. She must be feeling pretty used to this now, isn't she?
Yeah, it's good, you know, back-to-back poles, obviously from Spa and here, and she's driving so well. I think having switched from the Audi to the Aston, she was quick straight away on the conversion, but like any driver, the more time you spend with the car, you're at one with it. And I think you see throughout the season, she's just got quicker and quicker. Yeah, a little bit in qualifying, but most of her race stints, you know, Spa race stint was very, very impressive. So the goal here is obviously clean start if we can get away. She's fast enough to hopefully lead the pack and just see how the hour pans out. The worst thing we can have is a potential safety car because we've got 10 seconds extra on the pit stop, but you can't predict that. You just have to roll with it. But yeah, the goal is to get good points. Obviously, the championship's at a crucial point of the season, so yeah, it'd be nice to get up on that podium this afternoon.
What happens for you when Flick's out in the car? Because I know when you used to drive with Andrew, you'd often be on comms telling him to take it easy. Are you guiding her through it?
Yeah, bits of. I mean, she's at a nice level anyway, you know, she's a very competent driver, but it's just little details like if she's pulling a gap, where about, not to overdrive in bits of the track that you don't need to, because that's where mistakes or accidents can happen. And any procedures as well, like the start procedure, stuff like that. So we're always in comms, but she does react to good communication on the radio. But yeah, it's weird. My old teammate's P2, so it'll be interesting. The Beachstein guys look fast this weekend, and it's nice to see two Astons on the front row.
You're going for it today, aren't you?
For sure, yeah. It's yeah, we have to. You know, the championship's at that stage that we need good points, and a result like if we can today will obviously cement that and push us into Donington.
Happy days, mate. Good luck. It's going to go to the final weekend, isn't it? Yeah, totally. Listen, I'm going to keep roaming, see who else I can grab for you.
That's a threat, as much as a promise. So Aston Martin, as Johnny said, locking out the front row grid, the 75 Optima Motorsport car, Beachstein's 99. Andrew Howard starts that. You can see Darren Turner lurking around in an ill-advised pair of shorts. Third on the grid, John Minshaw. Championship leaders still the number 33 Barwell Lamborghini. I mean, really, they have every season been so close and not come up with the title, and they're just must be thinking, oh, come on, this time surely nothing's going to get in the way. Mathematically, it is possible that they could end up leaving Brands Hatch with Donington Park still to go as champions. Realistically, not sort of the way that these things normally go. Now, Darren Turner has been trapped middle and leg, I think, by Andy. Let's see what he knows.
They're stitching me right up there. No, I'm thrilled to have Darren with me. Darren, I put Andrew on the spot yesterday and said, look, you guys are looking fast, but where's the win? Come on, what's going on?
Yeah, it's been a bit disappointing. We had a good start to the year, lots of podiums, and then Silverstone, it just started to go a little bit wrong. Regrouped at Spa, but unfortunately a bit of contact on that first lap meant we didn't get a finish at Spa. But yeah, now it feels pretty good. Qualifying went well. Andrew's really pumped up this weekend. Did a great job in qualifying. So yeah, main thing now is just to get a good start, settle into a rhythm, and see how it pans out on the pit stops. Obviously, I think 75, they got a 10-second penalty in their first pit stop. So if we make the jump then, that'd be fantastic for us.
I mean, you must know, Andrew obviously has form here, winning, I think, in 2015. So how does it feel as the pro to know that your AM knows the track inside out and is really quick?
Just adds to the pressure, doesn't it? And the second stint, you know, the whole thing this weekend, Andrew's just been on fire on the circuit, really confident. You can tell how much confidence he's got around this circuit just by looking at the sectors and how he is when he gets out of the car, how buoyant he is about his performance. So it means there's a good chance he's going to hand it over in a top 3 position, and then it's down to me to sort of take it to the flag and withstand the pressure, because it's going to come. You know, the pace from the pros is very strong, and I just need to make sure that I have a very wide Aston for a long part of the race.
You've ramped up the pressure on yourself there. I was being quite gentle about it. Just a quick word on the heat, because I know we're going to clear the grid very shortly. Is it going to play a big part for you as a driver?
Yeah, I think everyone's been hydrating all day, and they are really hot in the car. None of these, well, I don't think anyone's got any air conditioning systems in their cars.
They're doing GT4.
Yeah, well, they're going to have a bit of an easier ride then. But yeah, for us, it's going to be a big issue, the heat. But you just have to deal with it. It's only 1 hour, and then you can always have a drink when you get out.
Go. Spoken like a true man there. Well done. Good stuff. I think we've got to clear off, I'm afraid, so back to the comms team.
Yeah, see, Darren Turner and Andrew Howard do an hour before they have a drink. Andy J, that was 4 minutes 32 seconds. Don't think I didn't have the stopwatch running. Didn't even give us a chance to eat our lunch, did it, Andy? So that was money well spent on a burger and chips that are now going to sit there going cold. So Martin Haven, Andy McEwen, David Pittard in the booth, ready to watch the cars roll away. What's harder now, David, being the driver who's starting, having sat there sweltering the car for the last 15 minutes and going, come on, or being the one on the pit wall hoping that you're going to get a drive in the second half of the race?
Yeah.
Because there is that, isn't there? It's, you know, it's a team game, but hey, me.
Yeah, when it's as warm as it is, I really dislike starting, because it is the whole gridding up process. You are sat there sweltering, stagnant air that just gets warmer and warmer and more at all. So yeah, I would prefer to probably be in second at the moment, but yeah, you do run that risk. Brands, I was talking to Jelmer Berman earlier on, he loved the fact that it's such an old school track. He said it's nothing like with the European stuff he's racing where there's tarmac runoff everywhere. He loves the old school feel of it, where if there's any mistake you have, 6 inches one way too much, and you're off. Or in the infamous Paddock Hill gravel track.
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody says it's hard to overtake, but that's because actually I was going to say it's really easy to defend. It's not easy to defend, it's easy to fill the road, but actually doing that lap after lap under consistent pressure, we see it year after year at the races here, actually holding your position under pressure is really hard, and that's so much of an underrated part of a racing driver's art. You know, if you get to the front in qualifying, but you can't hold people off because you're making mistakes watching your mirrors, then in the end, you're not helping at all.
Yeah, you've got to look forward and backwards. For the GT3 cars, they've obviously then got the GT4 traffic to manage as well. So, yeah, there's a lot to take on. People do think it is just sat in there pushing pedals, but mentally...
It's not.
Mentally, it really takes it out of you because you are any lapse of concentration and you're off, and that's you done. And if there's anything more that focuses the mind, it's the back section here, the Grand Prix circuit. It's absolutely fantastic to drive, and yeah, that back section really does keep you on your toes.
Well, here is a look. Sorry, Martin. Here is a look at the grid for this 8th round of the championship, and it will be Johnny Adam on the pole position with Andrew Howard. Sorry, the champion. Yes, the 75 Aston Martin ahead of 99 Aston Martin. There we go. With John Minshaw in the 33 Lamborghini on row 2. Graham Davidson will start the 47 Aston Martin alongside. Sam Dohan in the second of the Lamborghinis is on row 3 alongside the first of the 2 Bentley Continental GTs. Ian Loggy was in the highest qualifying of the 2 Team Park racing cars on row 3. Lee Mould Mercedes and Rick Parfitt Jr.'s #1 reigning championship winning Bentley on row 4 with Derek Johnston and Mark Farmer. Now, Mark Farmer, one to watch for, that car that had issues in qualifying yesterday but should move forward today. Then we get the GT4 cars, and it's Jack Mitchell and Ben Green, a BMW M412 in GT4 ahead of Jan Jonk and Charlie Fagg. Then Matt Nicol-Jones and Patrick Matheson's Janetta ahead of Richard Williams and Nick Jones. Then we have Finney Hutchinson and Jordan Albert from McLaren 10th row on the grid, ahead of Kelvin Fletcher in the Nissan, Mark Murfitt in the Mercedes, Graham Johnson's McLaren, Mike Newbold's Janetta, then Alan Valuska next in line. So the field making their way down towards the start line. Flick Haig it is who will start the number 75 Optimum Motorsport Aston Martin from pole position, with Andrew Howard alongside in the Beach Dean car. 2x2 formation to the start finish line. Glorious sunshine, 2 hours of racing ahead of us as the green flag flies, and Rick Parfitt Jr. gets an absolutely storming start round the outside of his teammate in the midfield, but at the front of the field it's Aston Martin to the fore, because Graham Davidson in the number 47 Aston Martin comes from the outside of row 2 to get himself into the 3rd place going up towards Druids. Aston Martin 1, 2, 3 with John Minshaw in the Barwell car 4th place.
Yeah, just for a moment there, it looks as though the Beach Dean car of Andrew Howard was going to go in front of Flick Haig, but she holds the lead. This is the 3rd time this year, as Andy was saying to teammate Johnny Cocker, that she started on the front row of the grid. The GT4 cars starting just a heartbeat behind. The 2 BMWs 1st and 2nd still are 1st and 2nd. And right behind them, the Academy Motorsport. Aston dropped down to 4th as Charlie Fagg in the 1st. The Tolman Motorsport. McLaren's made his way through into 3rd position. You can see the GT4 field coming because you look for high 3 Series M3s, and that's where they are. There's John Minshaw. He's the championship leader in the green and red of Demon Tweaks in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. There's the reigning champion, the outgoing champion, because he can't now win it, Rick Parfitt. Stewards will look at when he picked up the throttle compared to when the red lights went off, just to make sure that he wasn't a little Clay Regazzoni in his over-ambition at the start, but he did make a good getaway. And at a rolling start, judging that, that's going to be pretty tough, David, because especially when you're back in the GT4 field, there's 20 or 30 cars between you and the lights. How do you get that moment right? Because you can't pass before you go by the start-finish line, but you don't want to give time away. No,
they actually use the team to call the lights for you, so the team will be on the radio to the driver, red, 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 green, and then you're away after that. So especially for the British GT4 field, sorry, it's tricky for them. fantastic start by both BMWs there. I could actually see it to Druids. They were past 2 GT3 cars. So yeah, seriously close there. But it looks like I've gapped through the rest of the GT4 field quite nicely.
Yeah, well, their plan, because the number 43 car, winner last time out at Spa and the time before at Silverstone, it's got a 20-second penalty it must serve. Their plan is to run 1-2, and there you go, riding shotgun, Ben Green in 42. Now, his job here is to hold off everybody else, and if he can get his teammate, allow his teammate to get clear, then BMW may well end up in a position.
Ahead at the moment.
Oh, so he is, yeah. So Jack a little slower, Dean McDonald rather, a little slower off the line. So Dean McDonald trying to hold off the opposition, you're right. Didn't spot that they changed on the opening lap. So there is your GT4 leader, Ben Green. Century Motorsport BMWs first and second. Dean McDonald in 43, winners last time out. And again, they had a 20-second penalty in the 2-hour race at Spa. Didn't think they were going to come out on top there, but a safety car came out just as they were coming into the pits now. Then basically, quote, a free pit stop. Everybody else lost much more than 20 seconds behind the safety car, and so their penalty was negated. If lightning strikes twice here, they'll be very fortunate, but we heard on the grid, you know, again, when you're out front, you've got a pit lane penalty. You don't want a safety car because that bunches the whole field up, and any chance of escaping has gone. So Flick Haig trying to break away out front. She's got to make more than 10 seconds to negate that success penalty from their last race, where they finished in third place at Spa.
Yeah, and of course here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit, in particular a circuit that many of the drivers, as we've discussed already, don't have that much experience. There are a lot of cars out on the circuit as well, 29 cars starting across the two classes, a high chance of a safety car intervention, and so the drivers will be just hoping that that takes place after they've made their pit stop, because then they can, it won't affect their race strategy too much. So there's Rick Parfitt Jr. then in 6th position in the Team Parker Racing Bentley, turning his way down through Hawthorne, chasing after Sam Dahan in the Lamborghini in front, the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini, that is of course the second of the Barwell cars in the race, because John Minshaw, there he is leading that trio of cars. So the two Lamborghinis together, and Sam Dahan, it must be said, as the season has gone on, has become much more competitive. He was pretty competitive at the start of the year, but actually, as we got into the second half of the season, he, as you can see here, as quick, if not fractionally quicker at this stage than John Minshaw, who has fallen away from the leading 3 Aston Martins. There is the reigning championship-winning Bentley, which is just staying with them for the time being. BMW's definitely running away with this at the moment in GT4. McLaren in 3rd place. McDonald, for Charlie Faggett, excuse me, with then a pair of Aston Martins chasing behind. But a fairly calm start to the race. This, though, is what I thought might happen pre-race. We'll have a quiet first few laps, then they'll catch the traffic, and any gap that you've gained, that could all disappear in the space of one corner.
Well, pace out front shows the Aston Martins lapping in the 1 minute 28s and 1 minute 29s for the Lamborghinis, and by the result being stuck behind the Lamborghinis for the Bentley as well. So the Lamborghinis cannot match the Aston on pace early in the race. What about the effect, David Pittard, of a lessening fuel load and how you deal with the tyre pressures? You know, when you're in the car for an hour, you want it to be as good at the end as it can be without sacrificing too much at the front end of the race. How do you sort of deal with that balance?
So, well, whilst you're battling here, you want to try and obviously use some of the tyre to get ahead of the car, so over the long run, over the stint, you can get away. However, if you can't make that move, though, you've taken some life out of your tyres towards the end of the stint, you then may suffer and then obviously drop back from your competitor. So you really do have to pick and choose how you use these tyres effectively, and obviously to your own strategy, to your own strengths.
And when you come to somewhere where it's either wet or really hot or really cold, how much of practice and qualifying is working out exactly where the sweet spot for the tyre is on your car? Because it doesn't matter what anybody else's tyre pressures are. If they don't work on your car, it's redundant.
Yes, well, generally the teams will run on old tyres in free practice 1, and then towards the second half of free practice 2, then put new tyres on. So that 1.5 sessions is spent tuning the car to race setup, and then that final half of free practice 2, they'll tune it for qualifying for the new tyre run.
So by that stage, hopefully, you've got the tyre balance and the car balance. You know, the brakes are working well, the aero balance is about right front to rear, and you should have, hopefully, everything in position. Johnny? Adam watching there as Flick Hay continues to lead. She's 2.5 seconds up the road from the battle for second, which is the Union flag livery Beechdene Aston of Andrew Howard, the Beechdene boss, and behind him Graham Davidson now, the Jetstream Motorsport car number 47. They won last time out, Spa-Francorchamps, their first victory, and they were in fact the 5th different winners in 6 races, so it's been, the top step of the podium has been spread around. The secret to staying in the championship hunt for the 33 Lamborghini John Minshaw in the first of the 2 Barwell cars, same team, different livery, same car, different drivers. It's been consistency, hasn't it? And you know, when you're trying to win a championship, zeros don't help, do they?
No, not at all. The points for British GT, they really reward wins, for example, so there's quite a big gap between them, so it always incentivises you, if you need any more, to always go for the win rather than settle for points. Yeah. But yeah, the Barwell Aston, both drivers there extremely experienced in this championship, just know how to rack the points up, and as a result of it, they're in top spot at the moment.
Already got 4 drivers being warned for exceeding the track limits, and we are only 8 minutes into the race. Druids and Graham Hill Bend, turns 2 and 3, as they're referred to, are the scenes of the crime, where the pressure pads on the exit of the road are catching a few drivers out already. GT4 battle starts to make its way across the start-finish line. In GT4, the 2 BMW M4s continue to streak away. The battle we're watching here, I believe, is Patrick Matthiessen, yes, trying to find a way ahead of the number 5 car in front, with Lewis Proctor at the wheel, and Patrick has a look up the inside towards Druids. McLaren just about hanging on for the time being, but we've seen this sort of racing all year long in GT4, haven't we? Yeah,
last time we saw Lewis Proctor, which was on lap 2, he was over the gravel on the exit machine curve, just sort of kicking up the dirt a bit, just about clung on, but you can see they're being attacked from behind by the Ginetta 55, the points leaders, last year's championship winning team, but with neither of the drivers staying in the car this year. Those guys, you know, they're piling the pressure on, and the problem is when you Lewis Proctor, you've already dropped the car almost completely off the road on lap 1 or 2, is that you then got to settle yourself and gather your thoughts back together. So right behind is the 55 car, and that is the battle for, where are we looking at? That's the battle for 18th overall, so 7th and 8th in the GT4 class.
Second place overall. This is the battle making its way out of Druids now. The lead gap, incidentally, 4 seconds, so it's creeping up now. Flick Hay was just on a new fastest lap of the race, 1:27.979, exactly 1 second quicker than Andrew Howard on the previous lap, and that potentially is because Andrew is busy defending now. Graham Davidson in the 47 car behind. Flick Hay continues to pull away. Oh dear, we've got a Ginetta off. That's Graham Roberts, unfortunately, who Martin and I were talking to in the paddock earlier on. He's a exponent of the ever-popular Fun Cup Championship, reigning champion, but he just ran out of road up at Sheen Curve. This Graham's first ever race in British GT, but he's done a few Brit car races in the Ginetta GT4 car. Thankfully, found some rear-wheel drive traction, dug his way out of the gravel trap, and has been able to continue, but not the start to his British GT career.
Now, if he didn't manage to get out of the gravel, that would have been the safety car that the leaders did not need, because it would have closed this battle right back up. Flick Hay's hard work, what is it? 8 seconds she's got in hand over Minshaw at the moment, or 7, that would have all vanished. So that was lucky for him, but lucky for them. So the curse of the commentator works even when you're outside a coffee stand. Right, okay, so that hex now is actually starting to move a little further into traffic for the very first time, going by the first of the Jaguars. And one of the Jags very heavily damaged at Spa-Francorchamps, rebuilt entirely by the team in 9 days to be ready for Brands Hatch here after the race in Belgium. That includes transport back from Belgium and everything else. Went back to JLR to go on to the production jig there, straightened up, so it's now Jaguar shaped again, as opposed to predominantly barrier shaped as it was before. Was that, which one of the two was that? It was 44.
Yeah, Paul Weiss, wasn't it, who moved out of the way, but there's only so much you can do as a back marker, of course, trying to stay out of the quicker GT3 car's way. I noticed out of the window that he did rather hamper Sander Hans' run through Graham Hill Bend, and so now Rick Parfitt Jr. closes in. This is back to my point that the traffic will have a huge role to play, and there is always, at the end of 2 hours, a GT3 car that's a bit bent and a bit battered because it got a bit too close to a GT4 car where it shouldn't have done, and there's always someone who comes a cropper in amongst the traffic. Through Sheen Curve are about to come the 3 cars fighting over 4th position, and it does seem as though Rick Parfitt Jr. is a little bit quicker than these two, and with good reason, because he, throughout most of the season really, has been the fastest of the AM drivers out there, and they just haven't, as a team, been able to piece things together and get that car's first win of the season. Back to the Mathieson and Proctor scrap. Still, it is Lewis Proctor holding on. Patrick Mathieson again looks a bit quicker, gets the tighter line through Surtees, and we'll now get to see what sort of difference there is in straight line speed between these two cars. In theory, the regulations are quite tightly controlled, and there shouldn't be much of a difference, but the McLaren definitely is pulling away in a straight line.
Well, the thing is that you want basically the lap time to be as close at the end of the lap as possible, but you've got two entirely different concepts of car, mid-engine supercar and an old-fashioned front-engine rear-wheel drive, sort of 1960s throwback, if you like, in it that it's that straightforward. And they're going to skin the chicken in different ways, aren't they? You know, so you want the lap time to be as close as possible, but you want different cars to have different strengths, and that's why you get different winners on different tracks. Now, going by the GT4 Mercedes, that's the Pro Technica car. That's Anna Walewska, who's started up and running her own team. We're just talking to her at the coffee stand earlier on, and saying, you know, she's just racing driver. This weekend she's Anna the racing driver. Monday morning she can start dealing with all the team stuff as well, but she's got to focus on one job and one alone when she's here. Going by Graham Roberts and the team hard Ginetta.
Yeah, Graham staying dutifully out of the way. The second place Aston Martins and third place Aston Martin indeed sneaking through on the inside line, but they're catching the stragglers at the moment, and when they catch the big knots of cars that are fighting ahead of them, that will make things interesting. That must be awful though, David, when you can see the cars coming up in the distance, you know you're catching them. Do you sit there thinking, oh, I'm going to catch the machine curve, that's the worst part of the circuit, I really don't want to catch them there?
Definitely, you're always plotting ahead, far ahead of yourself, and yeah, there are preferences.
Sorry to cut across.
Yeah.
That was John Minshaw into, I think, Graham Roberts, wasn't he? Who's had an eventful opening stint.
He did cut across, didn't he, John Minshaw? But, you know, the problem is, at some stage, and particularly going into Druids, where the road effectively drops away from you as it levels out at the top of the hill, you're going to have to turn in, or you're just going to go off into the gravel. So when you're a GT3 driver, patient, it's like being at Le Mans, you do have to be patient. Here's Minshaw, has a lunge, actually he did telegraph that just about early enough. Maybe the Ginetta driver was about as busy as you can be there coming up to Druids, but they got away with it, and that's the key thing. But you don't need too many of those in a race.
So, well, the trouble is, David, as well, the line into that corner, you take quite an early turn in, don't you? Because it's uphill, you want to get to the apex as quickly as possible. So I suppose Graham was taking the normal racing line there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was going for that earlier apex, and Minshaw came from quite a long way back there, and quite late in the corner. Got to the apex just before the Ginetta, just about got it stopped as well, so not too much harm done there.
I can remember John Mass in the Mercedes C9 having the mother and father of all shunts and clearways in a 1,000-kilometre race here in the 80s as he tripped over, I think probably a Roy Baker Racing Tiger, a C2 car. And afterwards, he was saying, they were interviewing him when he got back to the pits during the race, and he said, can I just say to all the drivers of the C2 cars out there, please, for God's sake, stay on the racing line. Then we know where you're going. As soon as you come off the racing line, we've got no idea what you're thinking. So stay on the racing line. And actually, you know, I've remembered that for years and years, and as a rule of thumb, it can't be beaten, because if the guy's on the line, you know where he's going to and where that's going to lead him, and then you can plan your way around him. It may not be your fastest way, but for both of you, it's probably your safest.
Calvin Fletcher here, the Emmerdale actor and former British touring car racer, dicing away with Nick Jones in the Team Parker Racing Mercedes. We used to see in Team Parker Racing running Bentleys and Porsches in one-make championships, but they have the Mercedes GT4 car now out in British GT4. And Calvin Fletcher, one of the most improved drivers, I think, over recent years in the championship, getting quicker and quicker, but importantly, making less mistakes as well, and not having these little incidents he was having. He's getting to the end of the races, and often in really good positions as well. So Kelvin driving really well. So too is Sam DeHando to keep the ever more frustrated Rick Parfitt Jr. at bay. Rick flashing the lights several times across the start-finish line on recent laps, hasn't yet been able to prise the door open though and find a way through into this 5th place. This could be a chance though. They're going to catch the, I think that's the Fox Motorsport car, Mark Murphy, in the middle of clearways. They just about get away with it though. Sam Dahan slips up the inside. The Bentley Continental GT3. You can't miss that thing in your mirrors, really, can you? And it's closing in. That's not supposed to be there.
No, somebody has picked something up. That's a hoarding from way down the bottom of Surtees, double waved yellows. So no overtaking through there. The drivers will drop down into bottom bend and find that they can't make any moves through Surtees. You can close up, you can't overtake. Flick Haig leads from Andrew Howe by nearly 6 seconds. In third place is the car that won last time out, Graham Davidson. And then the battle with John Minshaw ahead of Sam Dahan and Rick Parfitt Jr. They started 3rd, 5th and 8th on the grid, and they are 4th, 5th and 6th at the moment. But as you say, when you're looking at the Lamborghini, you can still see 3/4 of the Bentley stood up behind it. Although I did see a picture of a blower Bentley from the 1930s, and the modern Bentley GT, big as the Continental is, looks like it would almost drive right underneath it. It's so much of a different sort of era of car, quite patently. Almost 100 years separating them. Now the deal with the lights flashing is to stop drivers being able to flash incessantly. There are rules, aren't there, about you can only have like 5 flashes in a row. Every time you hit the flashy lever, it does a set number. I think Rick's just got it on repeat.
Yeah, I think he takes it down. takes the button down.
Weld the throttle pedal to the floor, take the flasher button on, and I'll deal with the other bits.
Yes, pretty much.
It is something though, isn't it, David, that can distract particularly a slightly less experienced driver, isn't it? Because you see that little flash of colour in the mirrors, and if it's just as you're turning into a corner, you can be forced into a mistake.
Just diverts your attention, yeah, to the mirror. Normally I'm thinking, what on earth are they flashing about? And they're just trying to get in your head, really. But if you're having that thought, then it's working. So, yeah, Rick makes the most of that button, well and truly.
Sideways there out of Druids, I can see out of the window, but the second place battle making its way through Graham Hill Bend. Now, is it me, or is John Minshaw starting to catch these two? Yes, he was half a second quicker than Graham Davidson on the last lap. He's nearly a second quicker, though, than Andrew Howard. So John Minshaw starting to warm to his task now.
What you'll often find, though, David, is that this group will lose on one lap, and then that group will catch, but then they'll catch the group of traffic on the next lap, and they'll lose that sort of about the same amount of time. When you're working through traffic, Michael Andretti always used to say, pretty much, if there's a pace car, you're going to lose out. If you hit traffic, you're going to lose out. The times that you don't, hey, happy days, but most of the time, you just accept you're going to lose out and try not to get too stressed by it.
Yeah, it's you always got to think, if the traffic doesn't go your way one lap, it's going to go your way the next lap. And it's the same for everyone, really. You just got to deal with it. And as you say, try and stay calm. Don't take any big risks, especially this early on in the race. So you're there at the end of it.
Yeah. And when you've been doing well, so when you're Graham Davidson or Flick Haig, you know, you've got race wins under your belt, confidence is high, you're going really well with the team, the car feels excellent, then traffic's less of a drama. When you're struggling, you're trying to catch somebody and it's all a bit 6s and 7s, then that's when that frustration of traffic comes in. Andrew Howard slips by Lewis Proctor. Now, he was, how far had he got ahead, Lewis Proctor, in his little battle with Patrick Mathiasen? Actually, they opened up, oh no, he dropped behind him, so Mathiasen got past Lewis Proctor off, and so too is John Minshaw, just as I looked away from the timing screen. Luckily, there are other eyes in the booth.
Yes, well, I didn't see what happened either. I saw the end result, which was Lewis Proctor across the track as the championship leading car came at full speed out of Graham Hill Bend, but that's really hurt John Minshaw, and now his teammate Sam Dahan is all over him.
Dahan wasn't far behind, was it? And actually, ironically there, no closer is the Bentley, and so it looks as though Rick Parfitt Jr. anchored up a lot more. So Lewis Proctor
off again. That's at Surtees.
I think he may have more than an issue. He might have a broken steering arm or a trailing arm at the back of the car there somewhere, because it's unusual for somebody to go off at Graham Hill Bend quite so comprehensively without bouncing off somebody else in the first place. But can you imagine, you know, John Minshaw's, you know, seasons of almost just kind of flashed before his eyes in the form of a sideways McLaren. He got away with that by the skin of his teeth. Again, if it had been raining today, nothing would have stopped him before he hit the Armco barrier that separates the track from the back entrance to the pits. He would have just gone straight on, clang. Here comes Parfitt. Can't get his nose in underneath, but has he now forced Dahan to go down low? Can he now cap back underneath him up to Druids? Is that what he was thinking? It was what he was thinking, but Sam Hahn keeps his nose in front.
slippery surface flag out. Now, that's not necessarily just for a slippery surface. It can mean that there's some debris or there's some dirt on the road. I'm not entirely sure why that would be if there is, because I haven't seen anyone go off up there yet, but there we go. It doesn't mean that you can't overtake. It's just a warning to the drivers that there's something on the circuit that you'd probably rather wasn't there, and so just be a bit more circumspect for this particular occasion. But this frustrating race for Rick Parfitt. He knows he's got the speed, just can't work his way through. This is back to what we said. It's really hard. If you don't have that track position in qualifying, even over 2 hours, you're hard pushed to get yourself right to the front. You're going to have a perfect pit strategy, really good look at the traffic, and ideally maybe a little bit of luck go your way as well. This is the leading GT4 car then. This is Ben Green in the number 42 BMW, and you can see that he's pulled out a big lead over, well, that car is our overall race leader, Flick Haig, but the lead gap in GT4 was 3.1 seconds at the start of the lap.
And there is the sister car, 43, coming across the line behind him. And actually, Dean McDonald being caught now by Charlie Fagg in the number 4 McLaren from Tolman Motorsport. Lewis Proctor, who we just saw spinning at Graham Hill Bend and going off at Surtees, has been warned about track limits. Really, you know, talk about kicking a man when he's down. He hasn't. Oh, he hasn't. No, he hasn't come into the pits. 44 has though. No, he has. Lewis Proctor has come into the pits, so he has come in with an issue with that Tolman Motorsport car, and I do sense that that was not driver error. That may go all the way back to lap 2 when he was bouncing across the grass on the exit of Sheen Curve. Mistakes tend to have consequences, not necessarily immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be careful in those early stages. You can damage a tyre maybe when the pressures are a bit low, or something could just get weakened and then go properly later on. So yeah, you may well be onto something there, Martin. Leaders now, as you can see, are going through the bulk of the GT4 field. Rick Parfitt is ahead of Sam Dahan, I thought he was, so possibly in traffic. Rick Parfitt has found his way through into 5th position, so the Bentley moves up 1 spot, and now his sparring partner from years gone, well, previous years, John Minshaw, is the next car in his sights, and he's already starting to reel in the Demon Tweaks Lamborghini.
And it's also, of course, carving his way through quite a bunch of sparring partners from years gone by, because he started in British G in GT4 in British GT. And there you can see he's going by the 62 Academy Motorsport car of Will Moore, 2 Aston Martins. And was that Will Moore or Tom Wood he's caught up to? Well, they're running nose to tail, so he will get by one, then get by the other. And Sam Dahan has been dropped down the order. So last time round, let's see why. John Minshaw's lap was a 30.48, Rick a 30.52, Sam Dahan a 31.14. So did Dahan make a mistake out of our sight when we were looking at GT4 leads and just drift off wide? David, it's not hard, is it? There's very few places you make a mistake and get away with it at Brands.
Yes, it is that old school nature, and it punishes you, which is, I think, good. You go to the likes of Silverstone, Sam, if you did make a mistake, and just run back on. But here, yeah, you do have issues, as this car has.
Right, so we have an unidentified Ginetta in the gravel.
I have a feeling about this.
That's do you?
Let's have a look. Yes, it is Graham Roberts.
I can't believe you did that and call yourself a friend.
I do apologise, Graham, but he's done it properly this time. Yeah, but that car is beached, and if that's not a dangerous position, I don't know what is. So are we going to see the dreaded SC? Here he comes in towards Sheen Curve, pitches it in, rear of the car steps loose. But he was saying to us, wasn't he, earlier on this afternoon, that they've had quite a lot of mechanical dramas this weekend. Therefore, they've spent most of their practice time getting the car to work rather than getting it set up correctly. So it's quite possible that it's just slightly off in the setup. Doesn't quite have the confidence underneath him that he usually would have, and you don't have to be far off setup-wise to start having moments like that.
I think it was a little outside the crease when he got to the bump there as well. I think it was already a drift of the line, and once you go and drift out there, it stays wide and gets wider. But we are waiting to see if there will. Interesting. Contact between car 33, that's John Minshaw, and car 88, that is Graham Roberts, who's just up on the gravel, under investigation. So was there contact? Oh, that was up at the top of the hill, wasn't it? Druids, yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's under investigation. Yellow flags are out at turn 7. And how long until the pit lane window opens? At the hour. I mean, it's 10 minutes before the hour, so, it's 20 minutes across the hour, so we've got a long way to go. This is exactly what Flick Haig does not want. She's 12 seconds ahead of Andrew Howard in second place. and she really does not need a safety car at all. However, Marshall's are doing really well if they can rescue that car from the gravel. It might be possible. Wet gravel tends to be easier to get cars out of. They tend to sink a lot more on a nice dry sandy beach.
Well, they have the live snatch vehicles that commonly get used here at Brands Hatch, and he's perilously close to the side of the road, but if we can keep the race going under green with just yellow flags out at one corner, that would be preferable. In fact, the car, there's no attention being given to the car whatsoever. Graham, we must assume, is out of the car and behind the barriers, so the driver is in a safe position. The car perhaps will need recovering in a moment or two. Right, this is all tightening up now. Second, third, fourth and fifth are getting themselves closer and closer together. Andrew Howard in Beach Dean Aston Martin second, Graham Davidson in the Jetstream Aston is third, and then this is the fight for fourth place. John Minshaw and Rick Parfitt Jr., who looks to the inside, but the Lamborghini always has been a good car on the brakes. Has John Minshaw got the car to the apex? Yes, he has. Well, this is super intense, isn't it? As the safety car
Oh, that's
does
crippling.
Well,
I was just about to say, the gap from first to second is 17 seconds. From second to Sam DeHaan in seventh is 1.6, is 1.7 seconds. So safety car is out, and it won't be out for much more than a couple of laps, so they can snatch that Ginetta out of the gravel, but 2 laps is enough to completely eradicate Flick Haig's league, and it's just as bad in GT4 because Dean McDonald was pulling away, Ben Green was sort of under pressure from behind from Charlie Fagg, the other way around. Ben Green was pulling away, Dean McDonald under pressure from Charlie Fagg for second place, and that means that the GT4 lead battle will be closed right up. However, in all of these queues there will be other cars, and actually quite a few other cars, so if you just put the moving metal between, well, there's Anna Valeska's Mercedes, for instance, that's in 25th place, that's going to be first in the queue behind Flick Haig. We don't do a wave round thing where we get the entire field as they are on the timing screen, so they are behind the safety car, but this is really tough. You know, when you're in a position where you've got an advantage and you've worked really hard for it, David, because, you know, the cars, as we said, ostensibly are very, very close in performance. You know, the whole thing just all comes down to your hearts and your boots.
Big shame for Flick. She's put in a really fantastic stint there to pull out 17 seconds. A huge lead to have. And I don't think there's anything more demoralising than to do as good a job as she's done and then see a safety car come out. The good thing is, though, there is one GT4 car between her and second place, which hopefully she can use to her advantage to gap Andrew Howard when we go green again.
Yes, because of course the other cars can't overtake the GT4 car until they cross the line. The problem for Flick was that they just lapped the leaders of GT4. They hadn't yet really got back to the tail end of the field again, so that really couldn't have been timed much worse. A lap or two earlier for Flick, there'd have been a few more cars there to use as a buffer, but her saving grace may be the fact that the second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth place cars in GT3 are now together. They're going to be maybe more preoccupied with each other. She's shown once that she can build a gap, so there's no reason why she can't do it again.
No, the car's got the pace, and so has she, and there's no question about that. Now, actually, the person I feel second sorriest for is Anna Valeska in that Mercedes, because she's going to try and mind her own business. However, she's got second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth queuing up behind her, and then 1, 2, 3, not the Jaguar, 3, then 4, and not them, those are all GT3 cars, but she's got the top 6, or 5 of the top 6 in GT3, and then the top 4 in GT4, all stacked up behind her, and she doesn't want to get shunted off the road. So she's just going to have to try and go hell for leather after Flick Haig. The moment Flick Haig gets onto the gas, Anna has got to go absolutely hell for leather after, or basically park it until everybody's gone by, and I don't think she wants to do that.
Well, and again, had the safety car come out a lap earlier before she was lapped by the leaders, she'd have had a free pass back up to the tail end of the GT4 field, but as it is, their race, barring a slightly more fortunate safety car for them later on, is pretty much over, unfortunately. Good to see a good crowd here, though, enjoying the summer sunshine. Wherever you go around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, there's a spectacular view, whether you want sun or shade, and I think there are quite a few who want the latter at this stage of the day.
Definitely.
It's a fantastic circuit to come and spectate at, and to hear the roar of these GT3 and GT4 cars thundering past you between the trees must be quite the spectacle. There's confirmation of that investigation that we discussed earlier on between after contact between John Minshaw, car on the screen, and Graham Davidson, the driver whose car is stuck in the gravel trap up at Sheen Curve. We said at the time it looked close, but then there was no real damage done. So
I did notice actually as he went off backwards there was a flapping sort of rear wing panel, or front wing panel at the back of the front wing. But I don't think that was germane to the gravel trap excursion. I think that was just him getting caught out over the bumps. And the contact was up here at Druids, wasn't it, when John Minchall lunged up the inside in a lapping move, and it was the slightest of contact. And actually, I think the stewards will probably be very hard-pressed to try and put that with an off-track excursion 15 laps later. So
I suppose what Graham might tell you is that it maybe just bent the tracking. So that's good news. They've got the car out and rolling again. So that's good stuff there for Graham, dropping all of the gravel on the grass rather than driving on the racing line.
Until he gets to the corner, then everything slides out of the under tray, and he's trying to now stay off the road again.
Yes, but at least the car is out, so we should be able to go racing this time. But yeah, Graham may well tell you that. Here is a replay. So David, talk us through that then from a driver's point of view.
Yeah, I think John's he's committed to the move quite late on in the braking zone, so I think the Ginetta is already committed as well. They both dived for the same bit of tarmac there, and yeah, John just about made it to the inside. To be fair, yeah, there was a little bit of contact made, but I don't think any advantage or disadvantage was put towards the Ginetta at all.
I think the stewards agree with you, just flashing up on our timing screen, no further action. I have to say,
I do know what I'm talking about.
Well, you know, you're seeing it as a racing driver, I'm seeing it as a fan, and I'm saying, well, if you're going to penalise him for that, then I think really you're not giving them much of a chance. You know, neither car went off the road. All right, the Ginetta went a little wider, but you know, lights off on the safety car. And we are 20 laps in to this British GT race, round 8 of 9 of the championship. It's a 2-hour encounter. We heard from Johnny Adam on the grid. What do you do in the race? Well, he's doing this. Okay, watch for the lights to go off. Drop back. Don't go below 80 kilometers an hour. So 3,000 RPM in first gear or whatever it is. Wait till the team shout. As soon as the safety car peels into the pit lane, get the hammer down. Here we go. So she's being told, and Anna Valeska behind her in that Mercedes GT4 car, don't forget, is going to have to go. Not a quick pickup by Barwell Motorsport. The Lamborghini there of John Minchall very slow away behind Andrew Howden, and Davidson underneath him. Graham Davidson getting a good restart. Andrew Howden is always cautious at the start, always cautious at restarts. Don't throw the car off. If you give a place away, that's better than ending up in the gravel. And as we know, the old adage is yellows breed yellows, cautions breed cautions.
And of course, he couldn't overtake the GT4 car. I think that's possibly what did it there. He had to lift off the throttle, whereas Graham Davidson kept it pinned and maybe left himself a bit of a gap to arrive with some speed.
Look at poor Anna there. She's like, damn, I'm in first gear, I'm stopped. Just go by me, would you, for goodness sake. Now the GT3 leaders, GT4 leaders behind her, the GT3 leaders are gone, so she's got out of them. Now she's going to try and let the BMWs go through. And I think this might possibly turn into a little bit of a saving grace for the two Academy Motorsport, Century Motorsport BMWs, because there were GT3 cars battling between them and the GT4 chasing field. So you've got Lee Mole there in the Mercedes, and right behind him, Mark Farmer. Now, I was, again, chatting this morning with Yelmer Berman and a couple of the Aston guys. It's interesting what new eyes to the championship see. First of all, they were enthusing about brands and saying, I don't know where you can overtake everything. You can overtake anywhere, but, you know, you have to be good. But they were saying, why can't we start with some AMs and some pros? Why can't we just choose who we want to put in the car first? And I said, okay, well, where's the advantage? And I said, well, because then you can do different things with the pit stops. If you're an AM against some pros, you may lose ground, but it means that the pros can get through traffic. Otherwise, all the AMs are almost the same speed, all the pros are almost the same speed, and you end up with no overtaking. And as they go through, Lee Bolt just holds on from Mark Farmer, and Ian Loggy going high, wide and handsome first of the day, ladies and gentlemen, around the outside of the 43 BMW. And now they go up the inside of the 42 car.
It's intense moments, aren't they? Look at that Mark Farmer just washing out wide, and Ian Loggie's now going to try and find a way through. And there's a screech of tyre.
Panic underneath us.
No, it's not panic. I don't even know where that was. There was a screech of tyres somewhere, though. But anyway, yes, Ian Loggie's safely negotiated the back markers. His teammate, Rick Parfitt Jr., latched back onto the rear bumper now of the 33 Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. and we go safety car. So there is somebody off somewhere.
Yeah.
The question being where?
It's right. There's been contact between one of the Jags and a Ginetta right underneath us. That's why the tyre smoke was so loud. So
44 Jag and the 50 Ginetta.
Yeah, it looks, the Jag is facing the wrong way, the Ginetta is the right way, but has come hard off the barriers on the left. So the Ginetta's come, look at the tyre marks behind. The Ginetta has spun coming out of Clark Curve and then gone straight on into the barriers on the left-hand side. That's Mike Newbold's car. And I think the Jag basically had a massive lock-up and a spin, avoiding the Ginetta as it bounced back from the pile of debris on the right, further back, that tyre wall. Now, what they're going to have to do is send the field through the pit lane.
Well, they haven't.
They haven't, because they haven't been able to do it quickly enough this time. They're going to try and get the Jag out of the way, and there is a wide enough gap, but I think next lap to sweep up, once everybody's picked up all the debris, the glass and the bits of metal and carbon fibre in their tyres, they may well send the safety car queue through the pit lane, which is uncommon, but definitely not unheard of. That tyre wall on the right-hand side, this is going to be a long safety car. Yeah. I think the safety car might be out when the pit window opens.
Yeah, which is in 12 minutes' time, so I think you're probably right there. Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery as to what happened there. It's Mike Newbold and the 44 Jaguar was Paul Weiss at the wheel. Both drivers appear to be out of the cars, which is the main thing.
Well, Mike Newbold has clearly gone off out of the shot here. If the camera here pans around to the left-hand side, to his left-hand side, you'll see the tyre wall that he's impacted with. And further back upstream, again, if we go to the up... There you go, look. On the right-hand side, follow the white line away from the car. You can see the tyre marks, and that is where the Ginetta has headed off into that tyre barrier. So the Ginetta has spun, coming out, either maybe just dropped a wheel on the exit of Clark Curve, got into a tank slapper, and fired off in there. And that has... The barriers look okay. The marshal there checking to see if he can rock them, because they're in posts in the ground. If the posts move, then you're in for a really long build-up. Yeah. But I still think it's going to take them 10 minutes to stack the tyres up and get some conveyor belting around it again. And also, Mike Newbold's car is not getting anywhere in a hurry. The Jaguar, circling like a shark, because it can smell blood, is still trying to three-point turn his way around. He can't find reverse, can he, either?
He's now parked back in the way again.
That's where he was.
Yes, exactly. That is not really Ginetta anymore, is it?
See, he's been in both ends, hasn't he? And that was a big accident for Mike Newbold. So the fact that he's out of the car is the only thing that concerns us now. He is out, probably rung his bell fairly substantially, I should think.
Testament to the strength of these cars, though, and the safety modifications that are made, that a driver can walk away from what must have been a humongous accident. Look at the, well, you can see...
Well, those are the Jags. No, that's the Ginetta skid marks. I think the Ginetta lost it way back coming out of Clark Curve, and there was either that or there was contact with somebody, but there's a long set of tyre marks, and he goes off there, and that's his right side tyres are leaving those marks. Because he's on the... Look, so you've got two sets of marks. I'm pointing to the screen. David can see them, but he's had a problem a long way back, hasn't he?
The Jaguar has had contact somewhere there, so whether with the Ginetta or with the wall in avoidance, I'm not sure. But,
I think probably with the Ginetta. I think that's probably what ended up tagging him into a spin. Left rear, I think left rear is steering itself, is it? Yeah, I think it probably is there.
Possibly, they may be lucky, and that might just be bodywork.
No, because as soon as he starts to turn, look at the left rear. If that's supposed to wobble like that, then X-Type, that's XF, that's off my list of cars that I might end up buying as my next car.
No, it is crabbing a little, I think, isn't he? I think you are right there. The cars, by the way, are all being directed down the pit lane, as you suggested might be the plan, just so that they don't. The last thing you want to do is pick up a bit of carbon fibre, get a puncture in the tyres. You might not notice, of course, behind the safety car until you go racing again.
Right, so what do we have to remember now? When we're looking to see who still owes us a pit stop, we've got to see who hasn't gone through twice or 3 times.
Everyone has officially made their first pit stop of the race. Right, I believe that Mike Newbold has clambered out of what remains of his Ginetta, made his way over to the pit lane, and just who wants to see, Andy J is there with the microphone ready to ask him some questions. Andy, over to you.
Yeah, that's not entirely right, actually, Andy. I have spoken to Mike. He's not prepared to come on camera to discuss what's happened, but he has shared with me, and he knows I'll be relaying this on camera. He is physically feeling absolutely fine. He obviously has to go and be checked. I've asked him repeatedly, are you okay, are you okay? But the key thing is, he got straight out of the car, he ran to the pits. He was very cross with the Jaguar. He feels that there's some friction there. He's obviously laying all the blame at Jaguar. That's nothing to do with us. That's all the speculator. I'm merely telling you what he said to me. But it was quite the impact. We were stood right next to it, and the noise was incredible. But he is now, he's walking freely. He's off to be checked by the doctors now, and he said that we can hopefully catch up with him in a few moments' time.
Yeah, well, we heard the screech in the back from in our commentary box. All three of us leapt up to look out of the window to see what it was, and
we looked the wrong way. We looked down towards Paddock Hill Bend.
Because you would, wouldn't you? It usually is Paddock Hill Bend, but it's rare that you see an accident on the pit straight of any circuit. But we mentioned the point before, it's not really straight, there's a curve to it, and it's cambered as well down towards the pit wall.
And it dips.
Yeah, quite easy just to sort of wander over into each other, and the slightest contact can...
You've watched me drive, haven't you?
I can't possibly comment on that, Martin.
No. So I think the next question then is to get down to Paul Weiss. So was there then contact between the Jaguar being lapped by Mike Newbold with the Ginetta? That might well have been, because Mike Newbold is not the sort of man to make a mistake on a straight.
No, well, but then most of the drivers you could apply that to. But yes, that possibly is what it was. They just came together, a bit of a miscommunication. But at those speeds, and there isn't any runoff area on the pit straight because it's a straight, you wouldn't expect there to be an accident there. And unfortunately, these are the consequences. So the Jaguar is in the pit lane, and I think to your point, Martin, they are investigating the possibility of some rear suspension damage.
Well, if they're investigating the possibility, look at the other side. If they're going to fix the rear suspension, that's the right side to be looking at, definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the state of the tyre. You can see all sorts of different colours of black on it, which means that some of it's been on the road, some of it hasn't. Oh, look, down to canvas as well. So there's bodywork gouges through there as well. Anybody who's ever operated the lathe will recognise those, but maybe it was just part of the rear under tray that had been shoved up into it. Well, there is the sight of the safety car leading everybody through the pits. Still got another 7. Oh no, or when's the pit window open?
Yeah, 7 minutes time, I think, isn't it?
Is it 10 to 10 past?
I think
20 minutes, isn't it? Yes. It should be.
Well, to be fair, the tyre wall repair is going fairly rapidly. The car, as you can see, is being unceremoniously hoisted onto the back of a flatbed truck. So, ever the optimist, I'm going to say we might go racing as the pit window opens. There's a lot of fluid down, cement dust being put down to soak a whole sack of cement dust on that one little puddle of fluid. Everyone's now made their second pit lane visit, but still not quite able to make their mandatory first pit stop.
Well, the problem is, if everybody is stopping at the same time, then there is no pit strategy whatsoever other than stop behind the safety car, and it's going to end up being like Snetterton. The cars are going to be all over the place and really struggling to get in and out cleanly. So we've got a dark green, yellow and silver car. Let's go with lime green gaffer, because let's face it, if it's damaged, we might as well highlight the fact.
You've got to feel for poor Flick Haig as well, hadn't we? Because we were just discussing before that happened that we knew she had the pace to build the gap up. She was starting to make a break again, but now any chance that she had of building up a margin before the pit stops has now gone. And it looks like at best she'll have a second or so in hand when she pits.
Right, so our leader has a 10-second longer pit stop than the cars around her, apart from the car that's in second, which will spend 20 seconds longer stationary. And Rick Parfitt, who's in fifth, will spend 15 seconds longer stationary. So if nothing else changes, Darren Turner, who has yet to win this race, he's the only Aston Martin factory driver who has yet to win this season, will be the race leader in 99, which is currently the highest of the non-penalised cars, ahead of Phil Keane in the 33 Lamborghini, ahead of who takes over 69 from Sam DeHaan. Why can't I even think that?
That would be Johnny Cocker.
Johnny Cocker, yes. So those would be the top three, because all the penalties, I mean, Flick Haig plus 10 seconds takes us down to, to Sam DeHaan at the moment in 6th position.
You're half right in that it is a Jetstream Aston Martin that has the 15-second penalty, but it's the other one, it's the 11. So the 47 does not have a success penalty. So
47 has plus 20 seconds.
Yes, you've got a different...
According to bulletin number 1.
Right, okay, you've got a different...
Well, did they win in Spa? Yes.
Yes, they did.
So therefore they get winners. Yeah.
No, a typo on my sheet, I think, that I've handed there.
Absolutely. 47 and 11. Easy mistake at Jamaica.
Yes.
No, that was prior to Spa, because Mark Farmer and Nicky Tin won in Snetterton, didn't they?
Yes, you're right. So
Yes.
that's a not updated sheet of paper.
That's copy and not paste.
Yes, apologies for that, everyone. So yes,
No,
you are right. It is the 47 car that has the.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
Well, down in the pit lane, I believe we can hand back over to Andy J now, who's down with the Jaguar squad.
Yes, I'm with Dave Appleby. I'm pleased to say I have someone to talk to now rather than just relaying messages that were sent to me before we got on camera. Dave, you're the team principal for Jaguar here. You saw the accident. Tell us from your perspective what happened.
Yeah, I saw the accident right in front of my eyes, actually. I saw a car 44 come along the straight. It seemed to run wide onto the grass and onto the grit. Then it come back onto the track and made contact with the Ginetta. So it looks like an unfortunate racing incident, and do feel sorry for the Ginetta. But yeah, sometimes these things happen.
No, absolutely. I mean, Mike in the Ginetta obviously came out. He was quite angry. I suppose you can understand why he feels aggrieved.
Oh, definitely can feel why he feels aggrieved, and sorry that he was in the space of one of our cars having an incident. So.
Speaking about your team and the car, you've managed to patch it up, get it back out. Was it looking okay?
Yeah, we've sustained rear damage on the rear quarter with the bodywork touching the tyre. The boys have dressed that away. Front wheel was buckled and repaired. Otherwise, we're looking not too bad.
All right, we wish you luck for the rest of the race. Thank you.
Right, there you go. So, 2 into 1 doesn't go when one's coming back sideways. So the Jaguar running off wide, and then the Ginetta, an unfortunate victim of that circumstance. Unfortunately, of course, Ginetta end up, or at least their insurers do, hopefully, covering most of the cost out of that. It's going to be a substantial rebuild bill. Might take another lap or two to tidy up the track as well. The tyres are going back into position, but that, yeah, when you put a whole bag of cement dust down, there's a lot of sweeping. The marshals are sweeping it up, and the idea is the cement dust kind of the oil glues itself to the dust, and then you hopefully sweep it all the way as a sort of conglomerate, but it will leave a fair degree down there.
Well, a safety car lap is almost exactly 3 minutes. We have, by our reckoning, 1 minute and 3/4, just less than that now before the pit lane window opens. So
you would think that Johnny Adam might need to have a helmet on then.
Well, yes, because you'd have thought that they'd be aiming to dive into the pit lane as soon as possible.
Was he flossing?
Oh dear, he wasn't, was he?
Not convincingly. In a sort of. I've seen it on YouTube. I'm not entirely convinced. It wasn't much of a floss. That's
I
for
expect
sure.
better of someone of Johnny Adams' status.
You.
But there you go.
There you are. Now there's the suitable age for flossing, and a hat as well. Well done, Mum. Plenty of hydration, plenty of hats.
Right.
So yeah, well clearly Johnny Adam and Flick Haig, they're going to try and break away again, because if we go green and there's 10 minutes, then she might make up. You know, if everybody else pits, then actually she might make up quite a lot of that.
Except if everybody else pits, they'll be plugging their pro driver in, and they ought to be a little quicker. So it's going to be interesting, this one. Unless, of course, we've got this all horribly wrong. Pit lane doesn't open in 40 seconds, but we'll scrabble around on various pieces of paper to get confirmation of that. But Johnny Adams certainly doesn't seem to be feeling any particular sense of urgency to get into the car. There is, well, now they did have this on the truck, and they've now hoisted it back up. Presumably, it needs to go on the other way around for reasons unknown, but it's a slightly shorter Ginetta than it was about an hour ago. But Mike Newell thankfully clambered out of that car, because although the outer bodywork of the car is a mess, I'll say they're unloading it in Parfum, big car. Although the bodywork is a mess, the actual survival shell, if you like, the roll cage did its job, and where the driver sits is in one piece. So the field once again worked their way through the pit lane. Excuse me. There is the McLaren 570S safety car leading Flick Haig, Graham Davidson, and Johnny Adam around. They are your top 3 in GT3. John Minshaw is 4th, Rick Parfitt is 5th, and Sam DeHaan 6th. Then we've got Lee Mole, Mark Farmer, Ian Loggy, Derek Johnston rounding out the 10 GT3 cars that remain. And then we get our GT4 runners. GT4 still headed by the pair of BMWs.
In fact, it's only the number 17 Aston that is not in the queue at the front of the field. He's got the 2 GT4 BMWs between him and everybody else. So yeah, so Derek Johnston is the only man not in the queue. You can see him there, car number 17, behind the two BMWs that are still first and second. Now, this is all okay-ish for Ben Green in the 42 car, but for Dean McDonald in 43, the pole sitter in GT4, who wanted to at least negate some of the 20-second handicap that they're going to suffer in the pits when he hands over to his teammate, then I'm afraid Jack Mitchell will be doing a lot of sitting still, not going anywhere. Okay, so pit lane opens after 60 minutes of the race. So we will go green with 5 or 6 minutes left to go. We're going green this time round. Flick Haig will have 3 laps in which probably to try and escape again, and nobody gets the benefit of a safety car pit stop.
Well, she's not going to be able to pull away to the tune of 10 seconds, but damage limitation, if she can get 3 or 4 seconds, I suppose, then that's something. That's something, isn't it? Yes. And
I think, you know, when you're in that situation, David Pittard, anything that's less of a disadvantage is just less of a disadvantage, right?
Yeah, she's got to get her head down as soon as it goes green, really try and nail the restart, and yeah, as you say, damage limitation now. It's quite good that the whole GT3 field is backed up, so they're going to be squabbling with each other, so hopefully that'll give her a bit more time, but it's going to put Johnny Adam right in the mix of it as well.
We always, sorry Martin, we always talk about the heat in the cars when you're racing and you're busy, but I suppose to a point the adrenaline takes over then, doesn't it? But when you've been touring around behind the safety car for all these laps, in these sort of temperatures, it's hard to keep everything calm and cool and collected, isn't it?
Again, it just feels horrible because your focus is taken away from the driving aspect of it. So yeah, suddenly you start to notice that it is 50 degrees in the cockpit temperature, and you're in 3 layers of Nomex suit on a baking hot day like this. So
it's like wearing a ski gear in the sauna, isn't it? And on an exercise bike.
Literally that. So yeah, this is where now the safety car lights are going to go out, and hopefully it's in this lap. Then it's now you've got to focus on getting everything back up to temperature to hit the ground running.
Right. So who's going to make the moves here? So clearly Graham Davison is going to try and jump Flick Haig because he's got even longer to serve in the pits than the leader. So that's first and second. Andrew Howard might be content just to go around this lap and the next 2 or 3 and then hand over to Darren Turner with the hope of trying to win the race because they are the highest non-penalised car. I quite fancy Lee Mole in the Mercedes to have a bit of a go, maybe at Ian Logie in front, but then he's got Mark Farmer right behind him in the blue Aston. So the TF Sport car again, you know, who knows what's going to happen there. Okay. Here we go, we are ready to restart. Flick Haig's already got the hammer down, and with her goes Graham Davidson, and again Andrew Howe being cautious at the restart, again being slow at the restart. John Minshaw, maybe that's as much a factor of the Lamborghini as it is. Oh no, he wasn't that slow because Rick Parfitt didn't get him, and here we go. Not Lee Mole having a go at De Haan, but around the outside, Mark Farmer.
Good move.
Oh, he took bravery. Did he have them in the car, ready to neck them during the safety car? That was bravery pills, and now Andrew Howe trying to hold off John Minshaw in the Demon Tweaks green and red Lamborghini.
Yeah, John knows this is his best chance to make this move stick because we've talked about how Andrew often is a bit circumspect off the restarts, but we have John. Oh yes, I was just spotted that on the window. That is the 86.
Another friend of yours, Richard Williams.
Let's have a look. Richard, never met the bloke. Richard Williams in the 86 car has been rotated. I did spot that out of the window down at Graham Hill. We're about to see it on the screens, and it's
he's on the outside here, isn't it? And the 55 car, Patrick Mathiasen, dives to the inside, and Richard doesn't know he's there.
Your thoughts, David?
The Jeanette is not alongside enough, and unfortunately, they made contact. We've got going now, though, but that dropped them well out of contention for Pro-Am honours, of which they were pole position.
Yeah, they'll look at that, stewards. They have already said, of course, any incident gets looked at, whether there's a penalty or not. Remains to be seen whether they thought the Ginetta was fair enough, trying to have a go, and whether maybe the Toyota should have given him a little bit of racing room. Richard Williams went for the apex. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes there's a car there. Actually, it's better to try and give each other some racing room. And Andrew Howard will definitely be of that opinion if John Minshaw comes to call it, but I'm not sure the Lamborghini's quite got the pace. This has been historically over the last couple of seasons a pretty decent circuit for the GT3 Astons, and it seems to be that again this year. There's something about brands, they kind of get an opportunity to stretch their legs a bit.
Yeah, the tight technical circuits. Alton Park always tends to be a good circuit for that car as well, doesn't it? So that's one of the unique things about this championship, though. As you said, we have variety. We've got front engine, mid engine, rear, well, traditionally rear engine cars, one of them this year, but some of them a little bit better through the corners, some of them have better top speed, some of them good traction, you know, so there are different strengths and weaknesses, and certain circuits play to those strengths and weaknesses differently. Flick Haig, 1.8 seconds clear of Graham Davidson at the end of that previous lap. Graham, though, was 3.1 clear of this fight for third position, which has just spread itself out ever so slightly over this lap. Pit window opening in less than 4 minutes.
Well, this is the key for Flick. Her rival now is not Graham Davidson, the 47 car that's right behind. It's these guys that haven't got a penalty. So she's already halved the penalty that she's going to give over to Johnny Adam against the 99 Aston and the 33 Lamborghini, and in fact, for that measure, the number 1 Bentley and the 69 and the 11 top. So she's already halved that. Another lap, she might take another second out of it, and that gives him 1 second less that he's got to make up in the remaining 50 minutes, because the window opens on the hour and is open for 10 minutes. I mean, they'll come in immediately if they can, I think, because you want to get Johnny Adam in with as long as possible. I mean, David, you know, when you've got two very equal drivers, you can sort of divide it in the middle, and it doesn't make a great deal of difference, but if one of you's got a bit more pace, you try to make sure you give them as good a chance to use it as you can.
Yeah, that's gonna be key to getting the best overall result for the car. Yeah, these Andrew Howard, the two cars behind them, I think they'll be in straight away. But Flick Haig's doing a mega job at the front there. As you say, most of the gap has been pulled out already, and I think if she can keep this pace up, then that's going to make Johnny Adams' life a lot easier.
Yeah, question is, if she's coming in after her stint, and she's got the factory Aston Martin drivers going out after their stint, you know, Darren Turner, is she going to be able to match that sort of pace? And if they leave her out a couple of laps, then she might start to lose all of the gap that she's now opened up. So, again, possibly one of the reasons I'm here instead of actually on a pit wall is that I'm not a team manager, but my bet would be get her in as early as you can and then give the pros, yeah, have at it, and let's see what he can really do up against the other factory Aston drivers and against the top guns in the Lamborghinis and the Bentley as well, because it's not just factory drivers, and you've got Yelmer Berman in the Mercedes as well. That car's going to be in the mix. So there's a lot. I mean, one of the things this British GT Championship has is massive strength in depth. Ian Logie with a good run out of clearways through Clark Curve, goes by Lee Mole, and that moves him up into 8th position. So that was an opportunity well taken. Lee Mole comes right back at him. Oh, they've been watching the Caterham race and being inspired. Well, where did Parker Racing start? Well, I don't know if they started, but I'm old enough to remember watching Parker Racing cars in Caterhams, and they still have that fighting instinct, and a big lock-up from Ian Logie. So easy to do at Drews, isn't it? You come out of that compression, steep uphill, and then it up onto a tabletop, and if you haven't got the braking done, then it doesn't stop.
You suddenly lose, there's almost gravity braking for you as you go up the top there. Yeah, a little bit wide there. I think he didn't expect Lee Mole to make a move back again on him, so really caught him napping there. Good move by Lee.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that might happen here, I reckon, guys, is that the leaders might get around to the start-finish line before the pit window opens, but the second half of the field, because they're a bit further back, might be able to pit a lap earlier, because we've got 40 seconds left until the pit window opens, and the race leader, Flick Haig, is somewhere around Westfield, so it's going to be tight. That she might just get here in time, but it'll have to be a bit of a last-minute call on radio to get her in. GT4 battle on the screen. That's the 61 Aston Martin of Tom Wood, who is challenging Charlie Fagg for third in class.
Exactly right, yeah. The Astons are now really starting to come into their own. The McLaren has had the best out of its tyres, and Charlie Fagg has got nothing left, and the Aston Martin goes straight through underneath him. So big pass from Tom Wood up into third place, and Charlie Fagg's got a 15-second penalty to serve in the pits, so he gets passed around the outside there as well. He has got a problem, and the pit lane is open, so that could not be better timing or worse timing, whatever you like. Has he got a puncture on the right rear? Or is it on the left rear? Okay, so who's in? Somebody just dived into the pits. That's Derek Johnston. So Derek Johnston comes in from GT3. Charlie Fagg into the pit lane as well. And with that penalty, in comes the number 10 car as well. That just went by him as well. So that is Finney Hutchinson for Keep For Sure. Their first year in the championship. Very well known in Europe. And which of the two Academy Century Motorsport BMWs was that? Was that that was Ben Green coming in? Okay, so that was the car that led, which means that 43 goes around one more time. And now a slew of pit stops. We're not going to be able to keep up with this. Okay, so they had gone through the pit 4 times. So we're looking for cars that haven't done a 5th stop when this all starts to shake itself out. GT4 leader was in. GT4 leader is still a Century Motorsport BMW, but it's the 43 car. There's our race leader, Flick Hay, comes in this time. Her first opportunity to come into the pit lane, because as you said, she got to the line before, or came past the pit lane before the window was open. First stall for her. She comes in, and it'll be a fuel and driver change.
Not everyone is in though, because Rick Parfitt Jr. has continued, possibly sensing that the pit lane's going to be busy. It might make sense just to leave it an extra lap. Yes, you might lose a second or two to the pro drivers, but you eliminate that extra risk of getting boxed in, having a bit of contact, just something scuppering your pit stop. Sam had also stayed out in the Barwell Lamborghini, and I believe that's the 17 TF Sport car of Derek Johnston. They're the 3 that stayed out.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody else piled into the pit lane though, so Rick Parfitt leads the race here at Brands. Oh, that sounds familiar. I'm sure I used that sentence last year. And he was on his way then, after Donington, to becoming the champion. But it is a very busy pit lane. There's your GT4 leader, 116 Lee Mole, handing over the Mercedes to Jelmer Berman, who was very enthused about being back at Brands Hatch. Again, for Jelmer Berman, a long time no racing here. And in the Jetstream car, 47, when that goes back out, Maxime Martin will be doing his first ever racing lap at Brands Hatch. 61 continues in GT4, that is now 2nd place. So one of the 2 Century Motorsport, not Century Motorsport, who do I mean, Academy Motorsport Astons came in. That was Will Moore, Tom Wood remains out. Lots and lots of air hammers. GT4 cars, by the way, if they change tyres, it costs them an extra time in the pit stop. So the intention is they go through on the tyres they start the race on. And GT3, bigger, heavier, more powerful, better braking, all sorts of tyre wearing things they've got going for them. They do get the free tyre change.
Rick Parfitt has gone on for another lap, whereas Sam Dehaan from 2nd place came in, but of course it takes more than a lap time to get the pit stop done. So actually Sam hasn't achieved anything there. He's come in a lap later, yes, but the pit lane is just as congested. Everybody there is making their way out now.
However, his Barwell team have serviced the 33 car, so they're now ready to jump onto his car. So that means that there'll be no hold-ups. So
Johnny Adam is ahead of Darren Turner, so they have managed to bridge that gap. Well done to the Optimum team.
75 was ahead of 99, it was ahead of 33.
But it's still ahead, crucially.
And 11 is still ahead of 116, so there were no changes in the pit lane. Yeah, it is all arms and elbows there. I don't think we had a stop, did we, for Anna Valeska in that Pro Technica? Again, having to basically use the handbrake to come to a halt there at the bottom of the hill to let everybody through. And 42 is back out. Now they're in traffic. And the question now is, when do the leaders come in? Sam Dehaan did come in, Derek Johnston didn't, Rick Parfitt Jr. didn't. Now, Rickers has got a 15-second penalty, Derek Johnston hasn't in the 17 car, so when he hands that over to Marco Sorensen, they will be a lot better placed than Marco might have thought before the safety car.
Look at all this going on though, this is fantastic stuff. The pro drivers plugged into the cars, they're thrown straight into the heat of battle. Usually they've got a lap or two just to suss everything out in a bit of clean-ish air, but here they are all fighting for positions, and these are podium positions they're scrapping over.
But that's what they want, isn't it? You know, that's what you can imagine Nicky Team almost chewing on the steering wheel in that blue Aston Martin just to get into the battle. That's exactly what they've come for close racing.
Derek Johnston has pitted now, so Rick Parfitt, the only GT3 driver yet to make a stop. Sam Dehaan, not Sam Dehaan, Johnny Cocker though, I can see out of the window, has left the pit lane before the queue comes through, so that car is now the leading car to have made a pit stop. We'll see it in a moment. There it is, you see, in front of the 75 Aston Martin, so that's great work by the Barwell squad. That car wasn't really in contention before pit stops, but now it could be the race leader.
That is fantastic. Johnny Adam, first lap out of the pits, has just set the fastest race lap. I know he hasn't, I beg your pardon, that was already there. No, it's 1:32.6, so that makes more sense. Johnny Adam is the second of the cars that have stopped then, ahead of Darren Turner. And then Phil Keane in the Lamborghini now, the red and green car. Then Nicky Team in the blue Aston Martin. then Jelmer Berman in the white Mercedes, and then we get our GT4 field, which is currently being led in 9th place. Don't expect that to continue. Oh no, it's not. It's that's Callum McLeod who's taken over from Ian Loggin in number 7 Bentley. So our GT4 leader is further back, and that is Tom Wood, who's just come into the pit lane, and so has Patrick Matthias. And so just about everybody has stopped now. There is number 17 car, Derek Johnston. He's handing it over to Marco Sorensen.
Now, where does he come into all of this, of course, because he's also opted to pit a bit later than everyone else. The car's down off its jacks, just in front of the 43 BMW, but the leaders are about to come across the start-finish line, so he's not going to benefit hugely. Right. Interesting strategy, though, here from Team Park Racing. Clearly, they're leaving the number 1 car out right to the end of the window.
Problem for the 62 Academy Motorsport car. Will Moore brought it in from the class lead, and it is parked in the garage. That's not good. Rick Parfitt still leads and owes us a pit stop. Brand new lap record this time from Johnny Adam. This time it is purple all the way across the screen. 1 minute 27.0, fastest lap of the race by the man in the 75 Aston Martin, who's currently in 3rd place. The reason Rick Parfitt's got a lap in hand over everybody else is he hasn't yet stopped. Now he will have to, because there's still only, well, he could do another lap. There's 3 minutes and 2 seconds. He'll get around. He could do 2 more laps in that. Just.
Well, he's losing about 2.5 seconds a lap to the quick pro drivers, but of course, that was the first lap in which he lost time. I think he's coming in this time. That looks like a tight line through clearways. Yeah, so he's coming in now. In the grand scheme of things, he really hasn't lost that much time. And if they lost even a second or two getting blocked behind somebody in the pit lane, that negates it anyway. So this could be a really bold strategy, but it could be a really successful strategy. So in he comes.
There are 5 cars in the pit lane, all of them GT4 cars. So yeah, it's a wide open space. Now he won't come back out in the lead. Or will he? Because everybody goes around, they now unlap themselves. God, that was close. Phil Keane on the Nissan, that was very close. If there wasn't contact there, I don't know how there wasn't. Maybe the heat of the air between the 2 cars just kept them apart, but that was very close. So now they unlap themselves. So now they're on the same lap as the Bentley, but David, this is real pressure. This is where we talk about GT racing, sports car racing being a team sport, and how the guys in their pits can win or lose a race. It's really hard to win a race, but it's so easy for a fumble to lose a race, and they know the pressure's on them there.
Yeah, I mean, as drivers, we strive to find tenths of seconds over the lap out on circuit, but down to the pit work of the guys, you can lose seconds. So their ball's really in their court. It's their chance to make an impact on the race and the overall result. They've been sat there chomping in the bit as well, waiting with their guns to turn their car around as quick as possible.
And I know that the professional teams spend a lot of time working on it. If you go to Aston Martin Racing, quite a lot of times at lunchtime in the week, they'll have pit stop practice out in the yard, you know, during the lunchtime, just to get themselves, you know, so it's just instant routine. You know, the way a tennis player just practice serving or practice returning, you know, so it's just so instinctive. But when you've got the smaller teams that aren't all full-time staff that comes to races, then that can really put the pressure on them. Here is our race leading car then. Ryan Ratcliffe waits to be released. Can't be released too early because that'll result in a drive-through, and that extra 15 seconds they were trying to negate is going to drop them down behind Marco Sorensen, behind Callum McLeod maybe, yes. Who's coming across the line next? The 47 car, Maxime Martin. So they have come out at the tail of the GT3 field, but with a 15-second time penalty, that was always going to hurt them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be interesting to see what the gap is to the lead at the end of this lap, and then take 15 seconds off that and see how close they would have been, if you see what I mean, because I think that the bulk of that deficit they've got is as a result of that penalty.
Now, let's talk about the other cars that have penalty. We'll do GT3 because we'll look at them. Flick Hagen, Johnny Adams' car, number 75, you just saw there. That's second, 7/10 of a second off the lead, held by Johnny Cocker. And Flick Haig and Johnny Adams' car spent 10 seconds longer in the pit lane, so those 3 or 4 laps after the safety car, before she came in, were so crucial. I mean, David, she did a fantastic job. She almost negated a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
Well, let's get down to the pit lane. Andy J has caught up with the man who brought the Bentley in from the lead, Rick Parfitt Jr.
That's right, Rick. We saw you guys came in absolutely last to pit. Obviously, clearly a strategy that you thought out ahead of time.
Yeah, well, we were being held up as my last few laps showed. I mean, I was way quicker than the cars in front, the BHD Aston and the Demon Tweaks Audi, Lamborghini Audi, same car really. I knew that there's precious few passing places.
Rick, I've just heard your car is off. You've just hit the gravel. Look, there's pictures over there.
This always happens when you talk to me, doesn't it?
I'm the jinx. What can I say? This is not good news. We're going to replay it for you so you can see what's happened. Here you go.
Oh no, not a GT4. Oh, right, no. Okay, well that's our day over. But you know, we led.
You're also fastest down in quali. Looked super fast in the whole of the first stint.
Oh, was I fastest?
You were very fast.
Oh, great. Well, that just goes to show that was the strategy. Dehaan was really holding me up, and he was being far too aggressive. I mean, I think people could probably see he tried to run me off the circuit twice. You can't just do that. He did it at Silverstone as well. You can't put that steering input in to defend. You can block, but you can't just turn in on people. And but you know, hopefully he's new, so hopefully he'll learn. And but apart from that, yeah, I was very happy. Tried to box clever. Brought it in first. What more can I do? And it's just unfortunate. Poor Ryan. He had really limited laps here in this car. He hasn't been here in 3 years, and yesterday he only got 10 laps in the car around here. So
I don't even think he got one lap in the actual race by the looks of things. I mean, that's what was he out for a minute?
Especially after such an amazing stint at Spa, where he really showed what he's capable of. But you know what? This has been a learning year, especially for Ryan as well, and we'll come back stronger. Team Parker have been great as always. Good strategy. We boxed clever. We tried to stay out of trouble. We had a chance of making the most of what we could. And
there you go again. Look, there's another replay for you, Rick. That's so frustrating to watch for you.
He's just dropped a wheel off, and it's so easy to do. It's so tight around here. There is literally nowhere to overtake. So you've kind of got to take every opportunity you can, and it just looks like it snapped on him. That's just unfortunate. I'll give him a big hug when he comes in. But you know what? We fight to live another day. Thanks to all my sponsors, by the way. Fairline, Orbital, WS, Tech Growth Factory, Via.
There we go.
WS, everyone. Right. Thank you.
There we go. Back to you guys. Sorry about that.
The indefatigable Rick Parfitt. Well, you know, you win as a team, you lose as a team, and he and Ryan have got history together. They won the GT4 championship together, so, you know, and Ryan has very limited time in his car. Certainly Rick drove it all last year. Ryan didn't, obviously, because he was with Seb Morris, who's now racing in the Blancpain series. So, David, you know, these things happen, unfortunately. You know, everybody does as much as they possibly can, and sometimes you just get caught out in traffic.
Yeah, it just looks like there was a small misunderstanding. I mean, that Bentley is a big car, and yeah, Ryan's had his attention taken away from the road ahead of him, as his teammate, ironically, Scott Malvern, was trying to get out, doing his best to get out of his way. And yeah, as soon as you touch the grass over there, it's just arrived too fast and it spat him off. That's what we said at the beginning. Brands Hatch, an old school circuit, punishes those small mistakes.
Yeah, that it does, and that is a real shame. It's just not clicked this season, has it, for Team Park Racing's #1 car. Their other car, though, is still running in 8th position at the moment with Callum McLeod at the wheel. This battle we're watching here is the one for the bottom step on the podium with Darren Turner, Phil Keane, Nicky Team, and a closing Yelmer Berman. Now, that is a fight that you buy a ticket for, isn't it?
Absolutely. We've got ringside seats. And closing in from behind, the fastest man on track in number 17 is Marco Sorensen. So he got a late pit stop of his teammate Derek Johnston, but the number 17 car they've won together. And Phil Keane. Now, John Minchell says this a lot. He said, people don't give Phil Keane the credit that I think he deserves. And I tend to agree with him. You know, he's in there against people that Aston Martin are paying to race their cars professionally across the planet. Nobody's paying Phil Keane to race for a manufacturer professionally across the planet, but they flipping well should be, because he's absolutely able to swim and keep his head above water with these guys. He's got Nicky Team right behind him, he's got Darren Turner right in front. They're being paid by Aston Martin for a very good reason. He's got world champions in front, world champions behind, and he's not giving away an inch. You know, in a car that we saw in the first stint is not as fast as the Aston Martins here. Who's leading? Johnny Cocker out front, courtesy of some really clever pit work in the Lamborghini. Now, he's getting more out of it, I think, than Sam de Haan did, definitely. Johnny Adam in second, Aston Martin, Darren Turner third, Aston Martin, Phil Keane fourth, Lamborghini, fifth, Nicky Team, Aston Martin, seventh place, Marco Sorensen, Aston Martin, eighth place is Maxime Martin, Aston Martin. So 5 of the top 8 are Aston Martins. It is a good circuit, and there's a lot of the beggars. So when you're trying to hold them off, they just keep coming at you.
Well, they make up nearly half the GT3 field, don't they? And
Yeah.
most of them are in shot here. This, what a fight this is. Aston Martin from Lamborghini, from Aston Martin from Mercedes, and then we'll throw another Aston Martin in there as well now that Marco Sorensen has absolutely reeled them in. So a 5-car train, and the man who's tasked with trying to keep them all behind him is Darren Turner. But if ever there was a man who could do that, it's Darren Turner. Darren, of course, has the best of both worlds as far as his experience is concerned. Yes, he's had a very successful GT and endurance racing career, but he's won British touring car races as well. He knows how to get his elbows out and hold off a charging pack of cars. So Darren Turner, really good racer, really consistent, but he's capable of racing wheel to wheel with the best of them. There's Nicky Team, who pulls out a line. Marco Sorensen, perhaps unsurprisingly, has set the fastest lap, 1:26.545, as he was closing in on this pack. Then he caught them and went nearly a second and a half slower, so he's clearly capable of going quicker than them. But he's got to try and get past them first, and that could take him the bulk for the rest of this race.
Yeah, right now, this entire group are lapping in the 1:20.27, but the 2 cars in front, Johnny Cocker, the race leader in the 69 pink and black and purple Lambo, and Johnny Adam in the 75 Aston Martin, are in the 1:26.7, so 1:26.8. Now, the car that came in with the race lead was the 75 Aston Martin. Flick Haig brought it in after doing a great job recovering from losing a near 17-second lead behind the safety car, and Andy has caught up with her.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, Flick, I mean, incredible stint from you. You got thrown by a 17-second kickback thanks to the safety car. You managed to make that up. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was a bit like snakes and ladders, to be honest. You know, you think you're there and then you're not, and then you've got to reset again and go again. But, you know, fortunately, I got lucky and got away each time, and hopefully, like, we made up that 10-second penalty that we had. So really, really pleased.
Are you doing yourself a disservice and throwing yourself in modesty, saying I got lucky? Because it looked like terrific driving from this end.
I don't know. I mean, like, we have worked hard with the car. I wasn't overly happy with it yesterday. So coming into today, I was quite unsure, and starting from pole, you feel all that pressure of, like, you know, you've got to maintain it, keep your head down, and that's what I did. And I think the more I went into my stint, the more comfortable I felt. So I actually really enjoyed it.
And Johnny, he's busting out some fastest laps right now.
Yeah, he loves this circuit. So I knew that if I could bring it in a good position, we'd have a good finish, because he's got the lap record here. He knows it at the back of his hand, and we've got the car bang on. So fingers crossed we get a good result.
Absolutely, it's looking good so far. Thanks, Flick, appreciate it. Back to you guys in the commentary team.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. As we look at her car being driven now by Johnny Adam, and in traffic, Johnny Cocker lost quite a bit of time then through Graham Hill Bend, and so the top 2 cars are now nose to tail. Lamborghini versus Aston Martin, and of course the Johnny Cocker car in front of for its first win of the season. Out through Westfield they go. Now this is going to be a fascinating battle, because we've seen that when they're both left to their own devices, these 2 drivers are lapping within hundredths of a second of each other. So where, as a driver, David, when you know you're up against someone who's capable of lapping exactly the same speed as you, where do you make the move stick?
Well, I think Johnny's got to try and use the traffic to his advantage. I think when it is that close, you've got to force a mistake out of them. It's notoriously hard to overtake around here as well. So Johnny's just got to pile on the pressure to Johnny Adam, that is, to Johnny Cocker. And that time the traffic's worked against Johnny Adam. So he's got to then try and find a time where he can pounce on using the traffic and make that move stick.
Yeah, it's not worked particularly well for him there through Druids, it must be said, but he dives now at the inside of the GT4 Aston Martin. Speaking of GT4, some more of the cars making their way through Hawthorne. That is the 66 car, that's Scott Malvern, who in the Team Parker Racing car was the man who very nearly tangled with the Team GT3 car. The 66 car, though.
And what we're looking at is the top 3, because Scott Malvern in the 66 Parker Motorsport Mercedes is in 3rd place. Ahead of him is Plowie, Martin Plowman in the Nissan 53 car in 2nd place. We talked about how Kelvin Fletcher's been getting better and better as the years have gone on, or the couple of seasons have gone on that he's been racing here. As the years gone on, this RGN Nissan has definitely been getting closer and closer to the pace. And out front, 501 now, the champions 2 years ago, Graham Johnson and Mike Robinson. Then it was in a Ginetta. Now they've been in this McLaren now for 18 months. Last year, they didn't even start the race here. The car wouldn't fire up in the garage, I seem to remember, when it was only their like second or third race with the car. They didn't even get out of the garage. This year, they are leading in GT4. So the GT4 pit stop penalties had a much bigger effect, it seems, because the drivers didn't have quite enough time and maybe quite enough speed in the cars to make a difference in the way that they did a little bit in GT3. So 42 and 43 are 5th and 43 down in 8th place in class now, the two BMWs that were 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, that lead gap in GT4 is coming down by the best part of a second a lap as well, so we'll sit on that for a few laps, but before too much longer, the top three will be together, I think. Here are the GT3 cars, still scrapping away amongst each other and trying to dodge the traffic as well.
With Nicky Team right behind him, that blue Aston, Phil Keane is basically unicycling on a tightrope, isn't he? If he makes one mistake in traffic, gets held up once in the wrong place, he knows the Aston's going by. And actually, I think the same is really true as well for Johnny Cocker. He's got Johnny Adam, a two-time British GT champion. Johnny Cocker's a former British GT champion as well. But if Johnny Cocker gets held up once and the Aston Martin gets by, the outright best lap for the Lamborghini, 1:26.702. For the Aston, 26.738. So the Lamborghini, on its fastest lap, has gone 36 thousandths of a second faster than the Aston. There is nothing between them.
And we've got one of the BMWs here trying to work its way back through. I think that this is the 42 car.
42 car going by David Patterson in the 56 Tolman Motorsport car.
Which puts them 4th now in GT4, but what's the gap? 8.5 seconds behind the 3rd placed Mercedes of Scott Malvern, but we do now have 4 different makes of car in the top 4 places in GT4. In GT3, we've got still Lamborghini and Aston Martin fighting away for the race lead, and they're about to catch some of the really quick GT4 cars now as well.
In fact, David Patterson started that 56 Tolman Motorsport car last on the grid, and it's Joe Osborne, who raced last year in GT3 in Lee Moll's Mercedes, who is currently driving that McLaren. He stays out of the way. Leader goes through, Johnny Cocker in 69. Johnny Adam, last year's Le Mans winner in the GT Pro class for Aston, he goes through in 2nd place. And again, the gap goes up and down from a car length to 2 or 3 and back down to nothing. And at the moment, David Pittard, stop and go for car 86. That's the Toyota for a 2-shot pit stop. At the moment, it seems as though Johnny Adam at 75 can close the gap up anytime he likes. He just can't get alongside.
Yeah, he's not even shown his nose, has he? He's just got to wait for the traffic to play out to his advantage, really. Johnny Cocker's gapped Johnny Adam a little bit at the moment, where again the traffic didn't quite go Johnny's way, so he's going to get he'll probably close up again and look for the next opportunity.
Now, as we look out of our window, 501 and the other GT4 front runners, 1, 2 and 3. Well, 1 is on its own, but the 2nd and 3rd place battle is side by side, and the leaders are coming up to them. But actually then, they've got about half a lap of track with nothing on it in front of them. So as you watch number 17 there, that's Marco Sorensen, starting to carve his way through. 61, getting penalised for a short pit stop. That's David Patterson, Joe Osborne, beg your pardon, that's not Tom Wood and Jan Young's car. Oh, no, I spoke to Jan earlier, so the commentator is clearly alive and well.
We need to be locked in a dark room the instant we arrive at the track.
I'm never speaking to you again, Martin.
A cool dark room rather than a sweatbox. This is the punishment cell, isn't it, this weekend? So here we go. This is the battle for 2nd in GT4. There's the leader. There's Martin Plowman in the Nissan. Now, he's just broken free because actually the Mercedes sort of took a different line and allowed the leaders to go through.
Oh, John Johnny Cocker. There was a gap, there was just about a gap, and thankfully the gap was opened a bit wider once he'd committed, but that now brings Johnny Adam onto his tail.
Well, again, that's Martin Plowman going, where are they going to catch me? Oh, crikey, Sterling's right. I'm going to stay way over to one side and give them room on the inside, because if you're going to get tagged, as we saw earlier on, Sterling's is one of the corners that tightens up really hard on the drivers as they get into it.
Well, Johnny Adam now flashing the headlights of the Barwell car in front as they clip the curve through Paddock Hill Bend and plunge downhill. A cracking part of the circuit to go and spectate at as well if you ever find yourself here at Brands Hatch. There's the second place GT4 battle
right back on again. The Mercedes is right back up behind the Nissan. And again, great to see so many different manufacturers in the championship. You know, GT4 is growing in strength across the globe, and manufacturers want to sell customer cars, and that's exactly what is happening. We're getting all these different makes coming in, and you know, again, such different cars. The Nissan 370 versus you know, Mercedes AMG. You know, they're so totally different.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a testament, that, isn't it, David, to the balanced performance. We hate those words, I know, but they do their job, don't they? And they do make it, for us watching from the outside, more entertaining racing. I'm sure you drivers are out there complaining, thinking, oh, my car can be so much quicker than this, but from our point of view, and yours now up here in the box, it does make for really entertaining racing, doesn't it?
This is why you want variety at the front. You want to see a Lamborghini going head-to-head with an Aston Martin. So, yeah, I'm all for it. They do a very good job with their balanced performance. There are so many factors to take into consideration. And as Martin mentioned earlier on, even though each car has its strength and weakness, the lap times are nearly identical, as proven as well with these front two.
If you didn't have a stopwatch or it was hand operated, you'd be hard pressed on one lap to tell the difference between any of the cars. I mean, we're talking thousandths of a second. And you know, I went to the Spa 24 Hours last year. The first 37 cars on the grid were covered by a second. Trouble Jetstream has had something puncture the screen.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that is a huge rock that's been flung up. And Maxime Martin, well, Maxime was telling me this morning he's just about to go on a week's fast. He won't be eating anything for 3 days, just water and then negligible food for the rest of the week. That might possibly have helped get rid of whatever food he had for breakfast.
So you've been speaking to him as well then, Martin?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh dear, yes.
What on earth is that? Now, what that could be, and this is pure speculation, but I've seen this happen a few times in recent weeks, these plastic bollards on the apex of corners that are there to stop you cutting the corner, they're fairly substantial things, actually, and if they get flicked up in the windscreen of the following car, they can do a lot of damage. But I'll tell you what,
that looks like nothing so much as a bullet hole for a windscreen. So
right in his driver's
He's a very, very lucky boy indeed.
Yeah. So that is that. I would say that's a stone that somebody has just run wide and flicked. You know, normally it's little bits of gravel that machine gun the car. That's a proper cannon shell of a stone that's gone right through the windscreen. So, you know, again, there was a little discussion a couple of weeks ago about whether or not you cut the visor off on your helmet so that you've got an open face, a full face helmet, but without the full visor. And lots of guys going, no, because when you want the visor to protect you, you want it there. Race with it open, but if you have a fire or an incident, you want the visor to be there to help protect you. That's why it's there for.
No, it's there for a reason. Yeah. You're right. You're quite right.
Number 10. McLaren making a big pass there, but has also been penalised for track limits, so cutting the corner there isn't necessarily going to help his form with the stewards. I was just trying to figure out where they are. That's Finley McKay, he's in 16th place overall, which is on sixth, I think, in GT4.
Leaders down, Pilgrim's drop again though. Still Johnny Cocker ahead of Johnny Adam. They're 10 seconds now ahead of the Darren Turner, Phil Keen, Nicky Team, Jelmer Berman, Marco Sorensen scrap that's going on behind.
I love the way it takes almost a minute to say just who's in the queue.
I know, it's fantastic, isn't it? But a great strength in depth in the field, as we said, a real international flavour again now in British GT, which is quite nice to see. There's lots of great homegrown talent, but it's nice that people from a bit further afield now looking at this championship and saying, I can go and prove myself over there. If I can win in this championship, then I'm really achieving something. And that's something, David, as a driver, that makes the championship. You want to compete in a championship that you know is going to challenge you, because then if you can win, you know that you're going to catch people's attention.
Yeah, you want to race against the best, and it's, as you say, fantastic to see the drivers that are coming to the field this year. And yeah, it really puts British GT on the map as an international event, international championship to be a part of. And Yes, SRO are fantastic at growing these GT championships and the spectacles that they are. That's what the fans want to come and see as well.
Well, customer racing has always been the heart of sports car racing, whether you're talking about Le Mans or any other kind of sports car racing. And SRO have really been able to keep the genie in the bottle. Yeah, 10 McLaren is going very slowly now. Being able to keep the genie in the bottle as far as, you know, somebody coming in and riding roughshod over the rules, you know, and the balance of performance is doing that. As I say, you know, the idea is to try and keep the cars as close to each other so that a good team and driver combination can win by being a good team and driver combination, not by having the most money or buying the right car or the right tyre, which is why I've got a controlled tyre in the series as well. A British GT is attracting competitors and competition, and it is giving people the inspiration, like Tom Ferrier's team. They came into British GT, they've done well in British GT, they've gone to European Le Mans Series, they've gone to Michelin Le Mans Cup, they're going to the Blancpain Series, you know, and they're looking at and racing at Spa, you know, and same with Parker, they're going, and Barwell, you know, going for bigger and bigger steps up the ladder. You cut your teeth here, and then you look at these rivals coming in, you're going, okay, right there. Oh, that's very good. I see what they're doing. You pick up, you know, their good habits, and it improves the breed. You know, everybody is starting to get better and better and better, and people have got somewhere they can look to aspire. Drivers, teams, they can look up the ladder and go, that's where we want to be this time next year, Rodney, and you can do it.
Now, there was another hairy moment there for Phil Keane and the BES Motorsports squad. There was a bit of bodywork that had been left right on the racing line by that number 10 McLaren, but Phil was so close behind Darren Turner's number 99 Beach Team Aston Martin that when Darren jinked out of the way to avoid it, Phil had no reaction time to hit it. Now, I don't think it's done any damage, but another slightly breathless moment for the team. The car looks okay. There's maybe a bit of paint being scraped off the nose, but other than that, they're not too bad.
What they don't need is for any of it to be stuck inside that cooling duct up against the grill that stops all the stones and other detritus going in, and therefore blocking the cooling. So we've got just under half an hour to go in the hottest race we've had this year, last year, or any other year I can remember in British GT. Don't remember 76 British GT, not sure it existed then. So you know, there is that problem. Now, the McLaren came in with a puncture. They're going to have to come in again, I think. It just had a bit of a stall in the pit lane. I think they're going to have to come in again, possibly, or they're just going to get a time penalty for track limits. So he pulled away with the puncture, stalled. So it's all going swimmingly well there, I'm afraid, for the number 10 car. But, yeah, what the Lamborghini, the green and red car, doesn't need is to have picked up anything that will block the cooling ducts. Now, the other thing we saw as we got towards the end of the hour, the last 10 or 15 minutes, is the Lamborghinis were no longer able to keep up with the pace of the Aston Martins. They started dropping back, and I venture that might be a tyre wear issue. And all the pro drivers were saying that tyre wear is going to be really key in this race. Tyre management is always critical for a pro because, well, for any driver, you know, you want to stretch out the best bit of the tyre David Pittard as long as you possibly can. But if the Aston Martins now know that the Lamborghini might be struggling on tyres later on, the question is how late into this race is later on?
Yeah, you can judge that by the first stint. You look at the performances of the cars, and yeah, it did look to be a small slip in the balance of those cars. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. 26 minutes left, so maybe the final 15 minutes or so, we really might see the Astons come into their own.
GT4 battle still raging on. This is the fight for second place that has been much the same really since we first picked up on it. The Nissan just about hanging on, and Martin Plowman, Scott Mulvern in the Team Parker Racing Mercedes behind. Now the gap, they were closing, remember, on the 501 McLaren, but they are still about 1.6 seconds back. More GT4 action here, the number 61 Aston Martin, that is. That's Jan Jok, who is chasing after the 77 car, which is now being piloted by Michael Broadhurst. They've also got the race leaders coming through, so it's all going on here in the midfield in GT4.
Probably is, you know, you're trying to set up a pass and then suddenly somebody's coming up behind you in this honking great steam engine of an Aston Martin or a Lamborghini passing their way through. Jan Jok now is going to try and dive in behind Johnny Adam in 75 and hope that he can stay in the gap that is opened up alongside the Mercedes. Does he get the drive off the corner? He does. So he starts to pull alongside.
Done it.
And he's got through. And that is a nice bit of traffic work. Barwell watching the action. Barwell Lamborghinis in first and fourth place. What will this do potentially to the championship? I think it's just going to give us an even spicier Donington season finale. And those tend to have plenty of spice as it is.
That was a great example, though, wasn't it, David, there, of how because we always refer to the traffic and how it affects the quicker cars, but as the car being lapped, you can use that to play to your strength as well, can't you?
Yep, definitely. So the Aston just put the Mercedes offline, and then the GT4 Aston could pounce on it as a result of it. So yeah, you're always looking to find those advantages, and again, it works swings and roundabouts for both classes.
So Jan Jonk then moves up another position, so that puts him on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th position now, I reckon, in GT4. And he will now set off after, well, there's no one else that he's likely to catch. He's 14 seconds behind the 43 BMW of Jack Mitchell, so that's probably, without other people's issues, about as high up the order as Jan Jonk is going to get. His battle is still going on in GT3, and it's about to become an even bigger battle because Callum McLeod is now within a second of the back of this train. So how do you fancy 6 cars fighting over the third place?
Not even, because behind number 17 you can still see Callum McLeod's nose in that quite tight camera shot. So Darren Turner in third in 99, Phil Keane in fourth. Doesn't look to be running out of tyre at all, does he? Certainly got plenty of bite on the turn-in, but right behind him. You see, the problem now for Phil Keane is he's sort of shaken off Nicky Thiem a tiny bit, but if he makes even the tiniest mistake, Nicky Thiem will be through like a rat up a drain pipe. Right behind Nicky Thiem, Jelmer Berman in 116, the white Mercedes, and right behind him Marco Sorensen in number 17, and right behind him now, as you said, is Callum McLeod closing in the number 7 car that Ian Loggy started, the second of the Team Parker Bentleys.
I sense trouble here, possibly.
So
I think there was contact there between Nicky Thiem and Phil Keane, because Nicky backed off the accelerator so as to avoid running into the back of one of the GT4 cars, and I think there was just a little bit of a headbutt given, again, unintentionally from Nicky Thiem's car, but we saw that little bit of, look at that, that's fluid from the rear left corner. There's more contact again, so I think the Lamborghini is struggling here slightly. There is definitely some damage done.
He's losing traction because he's sliding that left rear on his own fluid. Now, what's that far back? Has it crimped a cooling hose somewhere, or is that fuel possibly starting to spill out of the Lamborghini? I can't imagine why.
Nicky Thiem, he wants to get on with this though, and he's going to try and nuzzle his way up the inside, but of course this is bottling him up into Jelmer Berman. Anxious times for the Demon Tweaks Barwell Motorsports squad. There's more traffic in front as well, which almost causes even more drama. This cannot work. They're all going to try and get into serves. He's caught a 3 abreast further back. Look at that, because up the inside is coming Marco Sorensen on Jelmer Berman. They've both got the inside of a GT4 Aston Martin. The place doesn't change hands, but I think a bit of paint may have been traded there, as now possibly Phil Keane has given up. Yes, he's pulling off the side. He realises there's damage to the car. That was a close moment with Callum McLeod in the Bentley, but there are grimaces and shakes of the head down at Barwell Motorsports. These are the championship leaders, the team on the brink again of wrapping up the title. Surely it can't all go wrong for them again this year.
One more to go. We were looking at Mark Lemmer there, watching the screens. Into the pit lane comes the number 1 Bentley. What's happened to Ryan Ratcliffe? He got back out to the gravel. Clearly the car has got further issues, and when you go off at that sort of speed, you saw how bouncy it was across the gravel. That's not entirely unexpected. He is in the pit lane.
Maxime Martin also back in as well, although he's now 9 laps down, so clearly some sort of lasting issue with the 47 Aston Martin, but the GT3 car's dropping like flies all of a sudden. This is turning into a bit of a race of attrition.
Now here's our GT4 battle, 1, 2 and 3, all in camera shot. They're covered by about 1.25 seconds, and that means they are closing in on Mike Robinson's McLaren. Well, let's get down to the pit lane and catch up with Andy J.
Yeah, I've got Kelvin here, and Kelvin, you guys are looking good, potentially on for your best finish in British GT.
Yeah, it was all right. My stint was pretty average, really. Yeah, you know, Bob, before I went out, said about the championship, you know, just have a steady drive and let's try and get some points. So that, at the back of your mind, you know, I just found myself driving a little bit too conservative, really, and I kind of got done early on by a couple of cars, and I just didn't feel like I had a great stint. But, you know, Martin's been terrific as well. You know, he's holding out the Mercedes. The Mercedes is so quick around here. I think we struggled all weekend with pace, you know, outright pace. I think we're about easier second off. So for us, it was about a war of attrition and keeping the tyres in good check and, you know, for the duration of the race. So.
This is the polar opposite to how I thought you'd be. I thought you'd be well chuffed. Thanks for talking to us, and I hope things improve for you, at least mood-wise.
An overall podium, that's what we want.
All right.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Well, Barwell was one dog still in the fight in GT3. We just saw the 33 car parked. Actually made the point, David Pittard, when we were talking about the bit of debris that Darren Turner jinked to avoid, that the 33 Lambo couldn't miss. Has that punctured a radiator? Is water then going all the way through the flat floor, the under tray, and spilling out at the back onto the tyres? And did he then have to park it because all the alarms are going off going, okay, this be very expensive, you're not stopping now. But that's how the alarms go in the cockpit.
Oh, is that right? Having never owned a Lamborghini, I couldn't possibly tell you that, but there we go. We'll take your word for that one, Martin. What it has had the effect of is it's slightly split the pack in GT3, so it gives us a chance now to focus on our lead two, who are certainly not separated. I don't think at any point over the last 35, 40 minutes has there been any more than about 6 or 7 tenths of a second between these two. Johnny Cocker and Johnny Adam Blackpin remarkably evenly matched, but it does seem to be the case that every time Johnny Adam drops back, he has the pace to close back in. So he may be a tenth of a second a lap or so quicker than Johnny Cocker, but that's not enough of an advantage to make a move.
All right, so David, here's the question. If you drop back a little bit, you're out of the turbulent airstream, your brakes like you for it, your tyres like you for it because you've got better grip and they can work better and they don't slide around so much. Your engine temperatures come down a little bit, but it takes the pressure off the guy in front. What's more important, keeping the car within, you know, with that inside boiling point, or trying to force the driver in front over boiling point?
Well, the position they're in at the moment, with the Barwell car now not going to score any points, Johnny Adam doesn't have to take as big a risk, so you can let Johnny Cocker relieve some of the pressure from him to get away. But then a little moment like that, he could show his nose again.
Yeah, the 56 GT4 McLaren getting very racy there with the overall race leader, and Johnny Adam instantly is on the case, isn't he? Flashing the lights and trying to take advantage of that to force a further mistake.
That was Joe Osborne. Now, I would have expected a little less truculence in allowing the leaders to get by from Joe Osborne. Johnny Adam all over the back of Johnny Cocker, two former British GT champions duking it out.
Johnny Cocker, though, he's on the ropes a bit here, isn't he? He needs another lap or so just to get his head back in the game and try to build up that gap, but Johnny Adam won't let him do that. This is for second in GT4, and Martin Plowman with Scott Mulvern all over him going in towards Sterling's. The outside line was never likely to work there, but I suppose if the gap opens up, you've got to try it. The Mercedes looks quicker, and of course, Scott is thinking, if I can get past this Nissan quickly, I've got a quarter of an hour to go after the race leader.
2X single-seater races. Martin Plowman was racing Indy Lights in the States when Scott Mulvern was winning the British Formula Ford Championship, and both of them converted into GT racing. Martin Plowman in the Nissan via LMP2, where he was very good. Oh, and Mike Robinson. Now, we didn't see that, did we? He was on the gravel just as we picked up this little move. So, goodness me. That could have all fallen very nicely for Scott Mulvern. He might have ended up being the leader there if Robinson had been off a little further.
To add to the mix here, the overall race leaders are catching these three, so within a lap or so, of course, it's all going to build and build to a nice crescendo, this, isn't it? So, and of course, we spoke earlier on about how the GT4 cars can possibly use that to their advantage as well. Could that be Scott Mulvern's opportunity to try and prise the door open and snatch second place?
Now, Ben Tuck, who started second but was leading the race with Ben Green in the BMW, is up to 4th place now in GT4. 5th place, Joe Osborne in the 56 car, but he is 11 seconds behind the BMW and 12 seconds ahead of Jack Mitchell in the other BMW, so I'm not quite sure why he was being so reluctant to be passed. Well, and one of the Nissans, is that a Nissan or somebody's gone off at the paddock? But let's get down to the pit lane and catch up with Mike Robinson, the GT4's teammate. Graham Johnson is with Andy J.
He certainly is, yes. We've just seen the battle for second in GT4, and you're loving this because, of course, you're at the front.
Yeah, it's they can fight all day long and let us get free. What people can't see on TV is Mike's fighting a little bit of an issue in the car. We on the green flag lap, I could hear like a bag of tools in the passenger seat. It was very strange, and I was obviously saying, what on earth have you done on the radio? It stopped, but the car felt dreadful. It was understeering so much. And as the stint progressed, the understeer got worse, and then the front of the car starts hitting the ground. So the car right now is hitting the ground under braking. in a perfectly safe fashion, but nonetheless, you know what I mean? And so Mike's out there trying to battle this issue. The car's okay, it's just got a lot of understeer, and when you get around it, you can go quite fast, largely because you get angry that the car's got a problem. I mean, the rage alone found me about half a second, but fingers crossed the car holds up whatever's wrong with it. I think the team need this result, really.
I mean, you've got quite a strong lead right now, but 15 minutes to go, so we don't want to jinx anything at this point.
Yeah, and every time I've spoken to you before, we always win, so...
I don't know what you're talking about. Can you tell me, have you been warned about track limits?
Yeah, I got one limit. We got one limit warning. That was caused by the rage again. But yeah, I think we've only had one track limit warning, and after that, Mike's okay. I don't think he's had any at all. So
it's just him and the bag of tools right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, let's see what happens. But at the moment, Mike's a great driver. He's putting in some great times despite the problem in the car. If we can achieve it, it would just be it would be good, because we've had the worst season I've ever had in my life.
Blimey. Well, and on that note, I'll let you go to the toilet. Thank you for that. Back to you guys.
Andy J fighting the curse of the commentator there. There's a driver that he apparently likes speaking to one of us, because they tend to win when Andy J comes and has a chat to him. So we'll see whether they can hang on in a car that clearly isn't quite as healthy as it ought to be. The gap that he's got at the moment over Martin Plowman has gone back out to a second and a half, because of course Martin even is busy defending from Scott Malvern. So GT4 settling down for the time being.
61 Jan Jonk just coming out of the pit lane in that Aston Martin. Didn't notice that he'd been in or why, but he was in 5th or 6th position, wasn't he, in GT4? Now he's dropped down the order. So we've got our lead trio, Ben Tuck in 4th, Joe Osborne in 5th, and now up to 6th position has gone 55. That's another of the McLaren's is the word I'm looking for. It's Callum Pointer in the 55 HAC Motorsport Ginetta. So that car has got by Jack Mitchell in the GT4 battle in the 43 BMW.
Yeah, we've completed 63 laps, and still only half a second covers the overall top two. This is the fight for third, Darren Turner and Nicky Team. Nicky having been freed from behind the Phil Keen Lamborghini when it pulled off with its issues, immediately caught up to the tail end of the other Aston Martin, the Beechdean car, but has not been able to find a way through. And this has been the story of the day, really. Cars that are quicker than other cars but can't find a way past them, because where do you make an overtake around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit without the risk of making contact?
And this is the question Marco Sorensen was asking this morning, you know, why don't they allow the AMs and the pros to mix and do whichever stint they want? And then you will have more overtaking, and you're more likely to find that the fastest combination ends up at the top, because the quicker of the drivers may not be up against the quicker of all the other drivers. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly an interesting thought from people who are new to the championship looking in. You often get some sensible ideas. Now they are right behind the battle for second. Martin Plowman goes for the inside, and that shuts the door on Darren Turner in the 99 Aston Martin. He goes by the Mercedes, and that now means that Plowman can roll offline and allow the others to go through and hopefully tuck in. So he tucks in behind Darren Turner. Nicky Team will go by him, and past the Mercedes goes the Mercedes, the white car, past the black park car, that is. Jelmer Berman flashing the headlights on this. And so again, Plowman there, David, having to really use the traffic so that it didn't hurt him, and making sure, no, I'm going to cut you off there because I must hold my line on this corner. Yeah. And sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah, he's just being super decisive, which for the GT3 guys is good. They know exactly what he's going to do. It's probably not the most convenient for them, but yeah, Martin's looking out for himself.
Yeah, and again, you know, if you go meandering offline, you know, he's not the sort of guy that gives up a racing line, because there's a reason you don't. 88 still struggling, and that car has been a bit of a tale of woe all the way through. Ben Wallace at the wheel of the 88 Ginetta.
Just about got out of the way, but I think he's pit lane bound, isn't he? Because there are definite issues with that car. Here comes Callum McLeod, who 10 minutes or so ago was right on the tail of that group of cars, somewhere, presumably in traffic. He's just lost a bit of ground. Overall race leaders and leaders in GT3, Johnny Cocker and Johnny Adam, the two Johnnies who have been tied together by the shortest piece of string for about 50 minutes now, and still no change in the order. And we've thrown everything at them. There have been groups of back markers battling, little moments for the race leader as well. There just hasn't been an opportunity for Johnny Adam to find a way through. We've got the 22 Jaguar, which is about to go another lap down. I think is Jason Wolf, who's now at the wheel of that car. Through goes Johnny Cocker, through goes Johnny Adam. But really, all Johnny Adam has been able to do so far in this race is follow in the wheel tracks of the race-leading Lamborghini. But back to your point, David, maybe he's thinking it's not really worth throwing everything at this. Of course, he'll have been told instantaneously on the radio as soon as Phil Keane ran into problems. He would have been the first person to know. But at the same time, there are an extra few championship points going begging here. If there's a chance, he's got to go for it, surely.
Yeah, if the opportunity presents itself, he will be there. Yeah, it's an interesting situation because, as you say, he looks faster, but he's still not even really managed to show a nose anywhere. He's just got to keep biding his time, and again, the biggest and best opportunities are going to come when they have the GT4 traffic. Big slide there for Johnny Cocker through paddock. Again, if the Lambo's tyres are going to start to go off, then that's even more opportunity for Johnny Adam as well.
If they are, they need to hurry up, don't they, as far as Johnny Adams is concerned, because he only has a 50-minute stint compared to, or 55, let's say, compared to 60 plus of Flick Haig. Hers was about 61 or 2, wasn't it, by the time she got into the pit lane? So he's got a little less than an hour. That means the tyres have to survive a little less long. And they may not have been the freshest, particularly because Flick was on pole. I'm sure she had an absolutely brand new set. Meanwhile, battle for second, Martin Plowman again holds the inside line. The Mercedes seems to be getting stronger versus the Nissan as this race goes on. And the Mercedes and the Nissan are being dropped by the McLaren in front. It might have a bag of spanners rolling around in the undertray. It might be bottoming them out. It might be understeering like the battleship Potemkin. But on the other hand, it's still in front. And a dog that's in front is still a better dog than one's not in front. So the McLaren may not feel great, but at the moment it is doing enough to stay in front. What was the last lap for Mike Robinson? It was the 34.6, 34.3 from Martin Plowman, 34.8 from, no, beg your pardon, Robinson was quickest, 35.2 last time round. Well, let's hear from Andy J in the pits. We've lost the number 33 at Lamborghini. What's the story at Barwell, Andy?
Well, the best way to find out is to ask the boss. John, obviously a frustrated figure here. What's happened?
It looked like the car picked up a piece of debris. In fact, it looks like a McLaren wheel arch liner blocked the radiator, and because it was black, we couldn't see it, didn't see it, and the car overheated.
How are you personally feeling? You look calm but slightly furious.
Well, not really. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, things happen. I think what I'm more furious about is being blocked on the driver change. We lost 6 seconds because we were held up on the exit because the Aston was released early and didn't just slow down to get within the time limit.
You could have secured the title this weekend. That's obviously now on pause, but I guess it's game on for Donington.
They like it when it goes to the last round, so yeah, I mean, let's see what happens there.
All right, thanks for talking to us, John. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, an understandably frustrated John Mitchell, but there you have it then. It was that debris that Phil Keane, and there was nothing Phil could have done about that. He was completely blindsided. The Aston Martin in front jinked out of the way at the last possible moment. Darren Turner gave Phil Keane the blink of an eye to try and do something about avoiding that debris. He looked to have got away with it for a few laps, but then it did come home to roost, and out of the race goes the Lamborghini. You couldn't script this, could you, though? This is what seems to happen every year. It looks like one team's got it in the bag. We get to the penultimate race, or the last race of the year, and something happens.
Okay, so look, here's the way I'm going to play this. For Barwell Lamborghini, we're going to Donington Park again. Okay, so for an English football fan, it's a penalty shootout. Okay, we no longer need to fear those. So there's the hope I'm giving to the 33 Barwell team. It's another penalty shootout. Just believe. It's only a penalty shootout. It's just a race to win. They've won races.
It's coming home.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Dear, I thought we'd seen the last of that.
Well, hang on. You had Schmozzle within 10 minutes of the start of the day. So I think coming home after a couple of months is that's very good. Battle for third place in our GT3 field then. Darren Turner, the 99 Aston. Nicky Team, the blue 11 Aston. And he's gone through past Darren Turner. So Turner suddenly slow there, or did they get caught out in traffic? Was I looking at the timing screen as that happened?
I think we all were, to be honest.
Answers on a postcard. We'll have to have a look at that because Nicky Team is through past Darren Turner and into a podium position. Now then, how does this play out in terms of championship points? Mark Farmer and Nicky Team closer. Don't forget the Beach Team car yet to win this year. And then behind them, the battle between 17, Marco Sorensen, and in front of him, 116, Elmer Berman. and that is for 5th place in the GT3. Change for the lead as well.
On the timing screen and on the track, I can see out of the window, Johnny Adams got back. Well spotted, David. We'll have you back. Into the lead has gone Johnny Adam. Where did that happen? So that's Aston Martin, with only just over 5 minutes left on the clock, has finally broken through the defences. There's no real traffic. I know that it's called Mercedes, but
only just. I'm saying Paddock Hill Bend.
Well, no, he was 6/10 ahead of the line.
So it was, yeah.
Yeah, so it must have been towards the end of the previous lap, but well.
Absolutely right.
We'll see. We'll try and find out for you what happened there, but...
Well, you can see it in the highlights next weekend. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, and more trouble. Now this might be a safety car, I think.
Mark Murphy, no, not Murphy.
That's Fox Motorsport. Michael Broadhurst has gone off.
Up at Druids, this is, and he's gone into the barriers, not particularly heavily, but the car is beached in the gravel.
Well, it's up to his axles, isn't it?
We've got a replay of this, and
by himself.
And he's gone off. Well, it's that thing with Druids, isn't it? You come up this really steep hill, you know, you're lying back, your feet are up at the stars, and if you don't get the braking right when you're in that takeoff position, by the time it flattens out at Druids, the car's on its tippy toes, it's never stopping, and he just went straight off.
I want to say it might be a braking issue there, because it's a very odd one, and he's just tried to line up as straight as possible to just get some sort of braking.
The other thing that happens at Druids, and you'll have seen this as well, watch other people do it if you haven't done it yourself, is you get your left wheels on the white line and they wiggle a bit onto the grass, and then you shoot straight off as well. So you want to be as hard to the left here as you can. We can't see it there as Sam Dahan disappears into the trees, but the drivers will be right on the white line to make the corner as wide as possible. And if you just go, if you literally venture 2 or 3 inches too far across, then you're on the dirt, and again, it's not stopping.
Side-by-side battle here in GT4. It's the number 4 McLaren. Is this for position? It is, because second fielding the Toyota goes round the outside and takes...
5th? 6th, 7th, 8th,
isn't it? Yeah.
Of course, you've got too many GT4 classes, and they've all got their emphasis. That is actually for 4th in their class, and I think 8th place overall. That's an all-silver battle. The silver battle being led by Ben Tuck in 42. Second in the silvers is 55 McLaren.
Second place in GT4, Scott Mulvern getting increasingly frustrated, running out of time, but visibly quicker than the Nissan and Martin Plowman, who just doesn't really make friends with the apex there on Paddock Hill Bend, but he runs so wide that he opened the door fully, and look who's coming. Ben Tuck is now only 1.3 seconds behind them. Second, third and fourth in GT4, these three are. This is building to a real grandstand finish. It's let the McLaren off the hook. But, well, this is getting... now, what was he... this is the lead change. Well, it was a mistake at Westfield. I looked at Johnny Cocker. Johnny Adam just threaded the eye of the needle, and through he went. But that was a rare mistake. Johnny Cocker is the first real mistake he's made, and Johnny Adam was there to pounce.
Well found in the truck. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yeah, we said that before, didn't we? You know, I said he's unicycling on a tightrope. He knows any tiny error, and he's given away the lead, and unfortunately that's exactly what happened. But he's been defending hard for 50 minutes, and now within 3 minutes or 5 minutes at the end of the race, suddenly the lead has changed.
Yeah, you've got to feel a bit there for Johnny Cocker, but he made the mistake. Johnny Adam was there, took advantage, and is now over 2 seconds clear, so pulling away.
I'm now going to use a stat courtesy of Tom Hornsby from British GT. If Johnny Cocker had have won here, if he does win, it'll be his first win in British GT since Thruxton. That's how long ago it was. Remember when we went to Thruxton in 2007.
Wow.
And that was also with Barwell Motorsport, but in an Aston Martin DBRS 9. So that's a whole lifetime ago.
Yeah, GT4 battle then, almost 3 abreast into Paddock Hill Bend. Martin Plowman defending, and he's really starting to slow this group down. Now Scott Mulvern weaving this way and that. Now there was a gap on the inside, but he couldn't quite find the way through.
But David Pittard, this is great for Martin Plowman in the Nissan, because suddenly Scott Mulvern is not free to attack wherever he wants. He's got the BMW behind, and it's the last lap. By the time they get to the line, the checkered flag will be out pretty much, I think. So, you know, he's got to hang on maybe one more lap after this, but the Mercedes now has to watch its back door as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a big relief for Martin. That's probably part of his plan, was to back Mulvern up into the charging Ben Tuck. Ben's been rapid this whole stint.
Here he comes, and he's going around the outside, and he manages to box in the Mercedes. Can't counter-attack because there's a slow Jaguar in the way. Now the question is Was Martin deliberately backing up the Mercedes, or is that as quick as the Nissan will go? Final lap for the race leader, Johnny Adam and Flick Haig. What's their batting average from pole position as far as victory is concerned? Are they 2 for 2 now?
Now you're asking the questions, hang on.
They won the first race of the championship from pole position. They have been on pole once before as well, or a second time this season. I can't remember whether they won that one. That was a bit of a stat that I probably ought to have looked at.
Well, likewise, but, but there you go. They're certainly going to win this one by the looks of it. Only 2 corners from home now, and really significant this for the championship.
Johnny Adam is equal tied for the most number of wins in British GT with Tim Mullen, who's now turned team manager. A win today moves him clear of the rest. It is win number 15 in British GT for Johnny Adam. He and Flick Haig, there she is in the hat, claim victory. Andy is there. We'll get to him in a moment. Johnny Cocker second for Barwell Lamborghini. Third place, a race to the line between Nicky Team. Nicky Team is third. Darren Turner in fourth place, ahead of Jelmer Berman by inches, and Marco Sorensen in sixth position. Sorensen also ends up with the fastest race lap in the 17 car. And the GT4 leader, 5:01. 8th place overall, by the way, Mike Robinson. 9th place is still Martin Plowman, second in GT4, and 10th place Ben Tuck in the BMW, third in GT4. And the BMW almost backs into Hawthorne there. I think he's had all his tyres have got, and Plowy might just hang on to this. It won't be a win yet, but for Bob Neville's team, that will be a fantastic result. Well, there is 5:01, a couple of corners clear, long as there's no issues tripping over the Jaguar, touch wood. And 5:01, Valve Motorsport McLaren, started by Graham Johnson and his bag of spanners, and handed over to Mike Robinson. And they will claim victory. It's been a long, tough, well, actually, the whole time they've pretty much spent with this McLaren has been long, hard, uphill graft after all the success they had with their Ginetta, but they claim victory in GT4, and at the line, it was the BMW. He out-dragged the Nissan, but the Nissan got third ahead of Scott Morvan. So, what that's that?
The 3 of them were covered by a 10th and a half of the
fantastic. Ben Tuck got the traction out of the final corner to go by Martin Plowman, and in the end, Scott Morvan ended up off the podium. Well, we saw Andy with Flick Haig on the pit wall. Let's catch up with our winner.
Yeah, Flick has been fantastically patient with me, given that you just want to explode with delight, don't you?
Yes, I do. And I want to go and thank all the team. I want to say hello to Johnny, and really, really good day. Dream day, actually.
I mean, you started the British GT season on pole with a win all those months ago. What a way to take this to the final round.
It's a fantastic feeling to have. You know, we've had some bad luck along the way, but the team always put out all the stops, and today all the work's paid off. So I'm over the moon.
And it's game on for Donington.
It is indeed.
Love it. Well done, you.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Thank you.
We'll charge down to the cars that are coming and see who we can grab.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. There is Johnny Adam climbing out of the 75 Aston Martin and looking remarkably composed, actually, after what was a very, very entertaining final 10 minutes or so. Well, to be honest, the whole final hour was entertaining. They may not have been swapping positions by the corner, but the psychological battle there between the pair of Johnnies, you said it perfectly, Martin, one false move from Johnny Cocker was all it was ever going to take, and well, that's good to see. The two of them, I noticed on their in-lap, were driving around side by side, congratulating each other. They raced clean, they raced hard, there was no contact at any point. Johnny Adam and Flick Haig were the winners, but Johnny Cocker, had it not been for that fraction wide at the Exeter Westfield, may have been able to hang on to the win himself.
Well, David, you could just see Johnny Adam there, you know, now the adrenaline has sunk down. Whoa, okay,
that was a sigh of
cracking.
relief, wasn't it then? Yeah. I bet he's hot. Get that man a drink.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're about to see a
that's
replay
not bad
here.
alternative, actually.
that's not bad.
This is
look at this.
GT4.
GT4 to the line, the BMW and the Mercedes kicking up the dirt. That's the reason the Mercedes didn't get by the Nissan, because it kicked up dirt on the inside, didn't have the traction.
By a nose, though. Look at that. That's third, fourth, and fifth. Second, third, and fourth after 2 hours of racing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Well, it wasn't quite as edge of the seat, perhaps, as the battle with the Corvette at the end of Le Mans last year, but by crikey, it was as close. So that's a fantastic race win for Flick Haig and Johnny Adam. Again, the roulette wheel spins and somebody else comes out with a victory. Well, they started on pole position, they ended up winning the race, job done, straightforward. Flick Haig led into the pit stops, you know, no, nothing to see here at all, really. David, that's the great thing about this racing, you know, either the short races or the long races, you just end up with such a great result. So here we are, our official runners and riders, Johnny Adam and Flick Haig, winners in their Aston Martin from Sander Hahn and Johnny Cocker. Mark Farmer, Nicky Team rounding out the podium in third. Darren Turner, Andrew Howard still get to win this season. Maybe that'll come at Donington. Wouldn't be the first time. Limal Yelmer Berman in fifth, ahead of Derek Johnson and Marco Sorensen. In Loggy, Callum McLeod. And then our GT4 race winners. Graham Johnson, Mike Robinson, 8th place overall, ahead of Ben Green and Ben Tuck, second by inches. And Kelvin Fletcher and Martin Plowman should be rightly happy with that third place for the Nissan. And as you said, by what was the margin in the end that Plowman was ahead of him?
10th and a half between all three, so yeah, not
59 thousandths he was behind Scott Morgan in fourth position in GT4. And our pole-sitting BMW ended up on the podium. Didn't end up on the podium run. The McDonnell Mitchell car in 14th place overall, so that's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th in class. That breaks their string of wins. And a few disappointed players towards the end with issues for some of our cars that kind of went all the way through. Big disappointment for Minshaw Keane and for our Bentley drivers. However, Andy is down with Johnny Adam. No disappointment there, I don't think.
Johnny, you love it around here. How does it feel now?
Yeah, extra special, yeah. Yeah, car was fantastic. That's probably the best this Aston's handled all year long. So big thank you to the team. You know, we worked really hard this weekend to just get that last little bit because we know how many points are on offer this weekend. And you know, we thought obviously with Flick's start, it was a great start. She got a nice little gap of like 12 seconds and the first safety car came, and then obviously it looked like a nasty accident down here. So she only really had 5 or 6 laps to try and push and try and gain a little bit of time on the rest of the field because of the 10 seconds. And she done that. Her pit stop was clean. It was a bit chaos at on the release, but we managed to get in front of the pack. But then obviously the Barwell car looked really strong. You know, Johnny drove so well. And he wasn't making many mistakes, but just a one little error out the back was enough to get by with. And yeah, the car was just spot on to do that. You need a good car around here, and this Aston's been really good this weekend.
And so have you, Sunshine, and you have to get up on the podium. Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Happy days.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. There. Well, as we said just now, that puts him now at the top of the record books as far as race victories in this championship. And Johnny Adam is a hugely successful racing driver in pretty much any discipline of motorsport that he decides to have a go at, be it touring car racing, GT racing, sprint racing, long distance racing. It doesn't seem to matter. He is the full package as far as a racing driver is concerned. And yeah, so he is a worthy winner. He and Flick Haig of this race. Right, here's how the championship looks. So,
wow.
Flick and Johnny, 139.5.
Okay, now this is important because this is the first time this year that John Minshaw and Phil Keane have not been championship leaders.
Yes,
no, I beg your pardon, because Flick Haig and Johnny Adam led after the first race, didn't they?
Yes.
But after Alton Park, they were joint leaders with John Minshaw and Phil Keane, who've held the lead ever since. So that now bounces right back, and Flick and Johnny go into the final race with a points lead from Mark Farmer, Nicky Team, and John Minshaw and Phil Keane have a lot of work to do. What about the GT4 drivers' standings? Jack Mitchell still 10 points clean of the Bens, Ben Tuck and Ben Green. So that's BMW driver, at least in the UK, ahead of 2 BMW drivers. Callum Points and Patrick Mathias, and that's why those passes were so important to them. They're in third place, only 3.5 points behind second. They could be champions in Donington Park. So mathematically, I think, could the fourth place drivers, but Jack Mitchell, who's dividing his time between racing for BMW here in the UK and Aston Martin in China, is in a very strong position coming to Donington Park.
Yes, he certainly is, and we thought GT3 was going to be exciting at Donington Park. GT4 is going to be even more manic because the racing often is just as close in that class, but with a bigger field and more manufacturers, and it's Donington Park as well, which always produces good racing. So yeah, GT4 is going to be quite the spectacle, I think, in a few weeks' time. So drivers make their way onto the podium. And we have our GT3 podium first of all. There are Sam de Haan and Johnny Cocker. Well, I think they're actually quite happy with that, really, aren't they? I mean, it's been a bit of a dry spell for them.
Not sure when the last time Johnny Cocker was on a British GT podium, actually. And ladies first, and she has been. Set the pole lap here, set the pole lap at Alton Park as well. She's qualified the car on pole and won races every bit as much as Johnny Adam has. Johnny may now have the British GT record for individual wins, but if they end up winning the championship, Flick Haig will have been every bit a part of the equation. Yeah, Johnny Cocker there on the left-hand side of your screen with Sam de Haan. They look absolutely thrilled to pieces. Win, lose or draw, that's a big result for them. Mark Farmer and Nicky Thiem on the far side. Podium finish as well. So there's Ben from SRO, the man who is responsible for running this British GT Championship. He's been for many years. And Brownie out the way with the camera before they get busy with the fizzy. They're off duty for the rest of the afternoon. Oh, unfortunately the Paul Pirelli girls aren't, so Sam de Haan closest to us, and Johnny Cocker making sure that everybody is enjoying some of his champagne. I think it might be beers for the boys later as well. What do you reckon, David? That always goes down well when the drivers reward the team, because, again, we talked about this, you know, they made a great pit strategy to get that 69 car out in the lead.
Yes, definitely. Doesn't look like save much champagne for the boys, but I'm sure there'll be some cold ones in the fridge for them. Yeah. Job well done.
Absolutely was. Really good job indeed, and just 5 minutes away from victory. Eventually, the tyres gave up.
Yeah, it's a shame that for them, but as you say, they're pretty much equally as happy, I think, with the second place. But for Flick and Johnny, really important race win for them. For Nicky Thiem and Marco, for Nicky Thiem and Mark Farman, there we go. There was Mark. Yes. Podium again, valuable championship points for them as well. And there is the car that has been tough to beat on several occasions this year, hasn't it? The 75 Aston Martin. When they click with a circuit, they really are one of the strongest driver and team combinations out there.
I tell you what, when you've got 9 races, 3 wins already, and there's 1 left, you know, that's really hard to beat. You know, average performance and all the other stuff, yeah. But wins. So there's Martin Plowman looking pretty warm. Kelvin Fletcher did the first stint, and a great job he did with it as well. And Plowy comes out onto 3rd place on the podium. And Ben Green and Ben Tuck, a drag race to the line. The BMW had just enough left. In fact, in the whole of the second stint coming back, they really did a great job, having led the whole of the first stint. And our race winners with a bag of spanners, how they describe the McLaren, Graham Johnson and Mike Robinson. Not sure the people at Woking will be too happy about having such a hypercar described as a bag of spanners, but that's what it seemed like. They still got it to the win. Jonathan Wells from Pirelli Tyres presenting the trophies. And the BMW drivers now in 2nd place in the championship behind teammate Jack Mitchell, who won the last 2 races with 2 different teammates. So he won at Spa, he won at Silverstone before that. And again, you know, those big double points races, you know, that makes a difference as well, doesn't it, David? You know, you can win 1 race and, you know, you win at Alton Park, but it's only normal points. If you win one of the longer ones, a 2-hour or 3-hour race, then suddenly you get that extra tranche of points. That makes a big difference.
Here's the ones you want to pick and choose. You win. I wish I'd known that last year for my championship.
I'm not sure you're allowed to, are you?
If I could go back. But no, they're well and truly in contention now. The Ben MW, as I call it, is up there. Now it's the 2 sister cars fighting for the title.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting, and they're not the only cars in the hunt. Well, 2 hours in scorching sunshine at Brands Hatch. Hard work on the cars, hard work on the drivers, really hard work on the tyres, and yet they held up all the way through their stints. Right from the very beginning, it was clear that Flick Haig from pole position was determined to try and ease away, and that the curse of the commentators was alive and well. Traffic always an issue, and Andrew Howe being cautious with the back markers. Number 5, McLaren, with a couple of problems that ended up really costing them a lot of time and any chance to run out front. Huge accident just before the hour mark. Fortunately, nobody injured, but the safety car was out for 4 or 5 laps, and then we went green as we ran down towards the pit lane window. Massive opportunity taken by Mark Farmer to jump Lee Mole. Then we had our pit callers all from the front. Flick Haig handed over to Johnny Adam. A lap later, Sam DeHaan handed over to Johnny Cocker, who took the lead. The Bentley dropped out of the lead into the gravel. We ended up with a battle. The 33 Lamborghini trying to keep itself in the hunt. The 69 Lamborghini trying to keep itself at the front of the field. Debris that was run over by 33 Lambo in the end caused the car to overheat. It blew out all its fluid, and that was the end of their race and potentially the end of their championship. Their teammates lost the lead in the run to the line as Nicky Team dive-bombed Darren Turner for a spot on the podium, and Johnny Adam grabbed victory 2 laps from home. Johnny Adam and Flick Haig win again, their 3rd victory of the year, and they lead the championship standings heading to the finale at Donington Park.